At the end of the Ice Age, I accumulated tens of billions of supplies. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 51 Wait for infection. One minimum and the others are so angry now. It was you, Fang Yuking, who came here and lured us to attack Zhang Yi's house. As a result, now we are dying and hurting, but you want to leave everyone behind and enjoy the blessings by yourself? There is no door. When Zhao Peng, who was undergoing surgery, heard that Fang Yuking was going to find Zhang Yi, he was even more furious. Yuking, how could you treat me like this? Didn't you say that you hate Zhang Yi the most? Remember what you said, you want to be my woman. Fang Yuking was slapped by Wang Minimum. She covered her face, but gritted her teeth and said stubbornly, is there a problem with my pursuit of my own happiness? Being with you is only temporary. In the future, everyone will run out of supplies. Aren't you waiting to die? Zhang Yi's house is so comfortable. There is food and drink, and he doesn't have to suffer from the cold. What happened to him when I went there? She looked at Zhao Peng with a painful face, with an expression of you have to understand me. Zhao Peng, you are a good person. You have always been nice to me in the past. But if you love someone, you should want her to be happy, right? Although you have helped me in the past, you shouldn't stop me from pursuing a better life. Can you give me as much as Zhang Yi gave me? Zhao Peng's face was terrifyingly pale. He hesitated and didn't know how to refute. Zhao Ke frowned and said to him, don't move. Otherwise, if you cut the main artery, you will die. Wang Minimum became nervous and hurried over to hold Zhao Peng down. Cousin, don't be so angry with this bitch. Save your life first. She took a deep breath, stared at Fang Yuking and said, Fang Yuking, we won't stop you if you want to leave, but unless Zhang Yi comes here to change it. Lin Caning blocked the door and held her neck high. Fang Yuking, if you want to leave, let's go together. Fang Yuking looked at them bitterly and had no choice but to say to Zhang Yi, brother Zhang Yi, you heard it too, they won't let me go. Otherwise, you can give them some medicine. Zhang Yi was watching the show in the kitchen. Hearing Fang Yuking's words, he smiled slightly and said, the medicine is very precious. How can I believe that they are not lying to me? They may also be lying to you. Maybe they will hold you hostage, use you to threaten me, and keep asking me for things. Kinga, we can't be fooled. Since the voice was turned on, everyone could hear the conversation between the two of them clearly. Zhao Peng was still shouting excitedly, Yuking, don't believe him. He's just playing with you. Yes, outsiders think so. But the authorities are fans, not to mention that under such an environment, Fang Yuking's spirit has long been a little abnormal. Zhang Yi gave her a glimmer of hope. She was like a drowning man grabbing a straw. Even if he rationally understands that it won't save his life, he just clings to it tightly and is reluctant to let go. She nodded again and again. Yes, yes, brother Zhang Yi, what you said makes sense. After she finished speaking, she crazily rushed towards Lin Caning who was blocking the door. Smelly woman, get the hell out of here. Don't stop me. The two women immediately tore together. In order to be able to go to Zhang Yi's house, Fang Yuking went completely crazy and her eyes were red. She desperately tore Lin Caning's hair and bit Lin Caning's arm with her teeth. Lin Caning suffered from the pain and fought with her like crazy. The two fell to the ground, just like two crazy women. Wang Minimum couldn't stand it anymore. There are still a few patients here who are undergoing surgery. If they continue beating like this, it may affect the operation. So she also joined the battle, and together with Lin Caning, they managed to subdue the crazy Fang Yuking. Let me go, let me go, let me go, let me go. Fang Yuking shouted hoarsely, like a madman. Wang Minimum frowned, slapped her roundly, and slapped her face 6 or 7 times. Fang Yuking was stunned by the beating, and then she calmed down. Wang Minimum snorted coldly, you want to leave? Go dreaming. She picked up Fang Yuking's cell phone, came to the side, and called Zhang Yi. Hey, Zhang Yi. Now Fang Yuking is in our hands. If you really want to save her, you can exchange it with medicine. Zhang Yi shrugged. There are too many of you, I'm afraid. What if you take the opportunity to kill me? King, although my brother really wants to live with you, but they don't allow it. Don't blame your brother. Zhang Yi said it loudly on purpose. King naturally heard these words. She roared in pain, looking at Wang Minimum and the others with vicious eyes. And Zhang Yi hung up the phone in a timely manner, with an evil smile on the corner of his mouth. The cruelest thing in this world is to give hopeless people a glimmer of hope, and then make them never reach this glimmer of hope. Of course, he couldn't let that green tea and white lotus in. He just wanted to disgust those people. At worst, they killed King. King and the others are here. King wailed for a long time, and finally turned into crying of grievance. But she didn't hate Zhang Yi, but Xiaopeng, Wang Minimum and others. She felt that it was not Xiaopeng, Wang Minimum and others who stopped her. Now she was already in Zhang Yi's house, eating exquisite food, and enjoying the warm fireplace. Wang Minimum scoffed at King. She glanced at Lin Caning. She was very satisfied with Lin Caning's performance just now. At least she wasn't with King. As expected of being good girlfriends, they betrayed each other in times of crisis. As you can see, this woman only thinks about herself, and doesn't think about other people at all. If you want to stay in our team, watch her carefully. Don't let her go. Wang Minimum said to Lin Caning coldly. Lin Caning nodded like pounding garlic. Sister Wang, I will definitely listen to you. She glanced at King who was crying on the ground. Her eyes were full of hatred, and said word by word, I will never let her run away alone. If you want to suffer hardships, everyone will eat together. Why should you enjoy the blessings alone? In the living room, Zhao Ke performed simple operations on the three of them. Since there was no means of disinfection and anesthesia, the rusty tetanus arrow could only be pulled out quickly, and then gauze was used to stop the bleeding. The sad thing is that there are no sterilized cotton balls, because the weather is so cold that the medical alcohol is frozen. The only good news is that the temperature is too low, so that they pass out without pain. But the disadvantages are also very obvious. Under such extreme low temperature, the body is easily necrotic. Zhao Ke finished the operation and wiped the blood on her hands. She closed the toolbox and said to Wang Minimum and others, it's just a temporary treatment. If there is no medicine, there is a high possibility of infection in the future. So you have to be mentally prepared. Wang Minimum's eyes were full of helplessness. Zhang Yi refused to ignore them. How could they get medicine? Chapter 52. Zhao Ke stretched out his hand towards Wang Minimum. Naturally, she couldn't help in vain. Wang Minimum also understood the rules and took out a pack of biscuits and handed them to her. Although not much, but save some food, enough for her to eat for 2 days. Zhao Ke was quite satisfied and then left. After Zhao Ke left, the atmosphere in the room was extremely depressed. The severe pain was still coming from the wound at this time, making the three men lie on the sofa, the quilt wrapped tightly around their bodies, unwilling to move. Xiaopeng looked at King on the ground. His eyes were full of grief. As for the others, they all looked at her with unkind eyes. Sun Zichao took a deep breath. We can't just wait to die like this. We must get medicine from Zhang Yi. Otherwise, if the wound becomes infected, we will all die miserably. He looked at Wang Minimum and Lin Caning and said in a deep voice, you should understand that if you don't have a man around you to protect you, it will be very difficult to survive in this last world. The complexions of Wang Minimum and Lin Caning were not good looking. They understood that what Sun Zichao said was true. Otherwise, Wang Minimum would not have chosen them to form a team together in the first place. But, we have nothing to do with Zhang Yi. Wang Minimum took a deep breath, his face full of helplessness. Even if they failed to attack them by force, what else could they do if they lost their troops? Sun Zichao gritted his teeth. The physical pain made him desperate. I have a way, you can try it. Everyone's eyes lit up, and they looked at Sun Zichao. Any idea? As long as there is hope, we all have to try. Yes, just dragging it on like this is waiting for death. Why not fight? Sun Zichao said, there is a fireplace in Zhang Yi's house, which means he has a lot of fuel. And watching his video, the food is also very abundant. Currently, only a few of us know this news. But right now, we obviously can't break Zhang Yi's house. It's better to leak this news and let everyone in the unit know. Sun Zichao's eyes were as vicious as a cobra. A few of us can't handle him. Can't hundreds of people also handle him? Not to mention there is a mad dog Chen Zhenghao, who has a gun in his hand. Those people do all sorts of crimes. They dare to kill people, and they will definitely deal with Zhang Yi. At that time, we only need some medicine and food, so it should not be a problem. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhe Jialing said excitedly, "This idea is good, I agree." The others didn't hesitate long before nodding their heads in agreement. After all, right now, they have no better choice. Fang Yuqing suddenly yelled at everyone, "You guys are so shameless. How could you do this? I want to live with Zhang Yi in the future. If you ruined him, what will I do in the future?" Wan Minimum's face was cold, and he slapped her hard in the past. At this time, Fang Yuqing's face was swollen like a pig's head. Wan Minimum pulled her hair and dragged her to the bedroom amid Fang Yuqing's screams. Then Wan Minimum shouted to Xiaopeng, "Xiaopeng, come here and let me handle her." Xiaopeng injured his arm, but the injury was actually not too serious. After all, Zhang Yi missed the point at the beginning. He wanted these people to be infected and die of pus. Therefore, Xiaopeng, who took out the arrow, can still do sports. Xiaopeng was taken aback when he heard Wan Minimum's words. He hesitated and said, "Cousin, is this bad? I really like her. How can I hurt her?" Fang Yuqing was also trembling on the bed, begging for mercy. "No, you can't treat me like this. Xiaopeng, didn't you say you love me the most?" Wan Minimum spat and said disdainfully, "Little vixen, you have caused us such misery. Just letting you sleep with my cousin is taking advantage of you." She said to Xiaopeng, "Silly brother, don't be confused anymore. This kind of woman is very vile, and I don't know how many people she has slept with. To put it bluntly, don't you just want to sleep with her? This time I will give you a chance to realize your wish. Let's see how she will lie to you in the future." They are all women, and Wan Minimum knows how to deal with Fang Yuqing. As long as Xiaopeng slept with her, Xiaopeng's newness to her would not be so deep. Xiaopeng roared angrily and rushed to the bedroom, only to push Wan Minimum away. "You are not allowed to say that about her. Yuqing and I are in true love, and I will never force her." Xiaopeng poked his neck and said. Wan Minimum stared, pointed at Xiaopeng, and was so angry that he couldn't speak for a long time. "You useless licking dog." After all, she still underestimated the loyalty of licking dog. Xiaopeng said, "No, I'm not licking dogs. Yuqing, she is a woman who is really good to me. I believe that, as long as I spend time impressing her, sooner or later she will fall in love with me." As Xiaopeng said, he turned his head and showed Fang Yuqing a handsome smile. "Don't be afraid, I'm here." He still remembers that when he first came to this city, he was in a young age and unfamiliar with the place. With only a junior high school education, he was looked down upon by many people around him. Then only Fang Yuqing gave him a friendly smile and even kindly asked Xiaopeng to help her move things. When he was lonely, Fang Yuqing gave him a chance to invite her to dinner. This feeling of being trusted has always been warm in Xiaopeng's heart. He would rather hurt himself than Fang Yuqing. Even if Fang Yuqing said that just now, he still felt that it was Zhang Yi's fault. Fang Yuqing was just deceived by him. That's right, as long as he waits patiently, Fang Yuqing will one day understand that he is the best man for her. Seeing Xiaopeng's silly smile, Fang Yuqing breathed a sigh of relief. Although it's not a big problem to let him in, Fang Yuqing has always looked down on this guy in her heart, and she still feels sick. And everyone else in the room was left speechless by Xiaopeng's dog-licking behavior. But now, everyone's thoughts are on uniting the people in the whole unit building to deal with Zhang Yi. So it doesn't matter what happens to Xiaopeng. Wan Minimum and others decided to disclose the news of Zhang Yi's rich supplies to everyone. With the help of everyone, break through Zhang Yi's house. Only in that way can they grab the medicine and save the lives of Sun Zichao and others. Therefore, Wan Minimum sent Zhang Yi's previous videos and photos in the previous owner group. The reason why this group was posted was naturally for Chen Zhenghao to see it too. Wan Minimum, neighbors, now I know that there are still people living such a happy life and their families. This kind of selfish behavior is simply shameless. The video was taken by Zhang Yi's family in the past few days. Think about what life we have lived recently. What life has he lived? Do you think this is fair? Let's discuss how we should deal with this matter. On weekdays, basically no one in this group talks anymore. Only Chen Zhenghao occasionally threatened the neighbors inside. So one minimum posted so many videos and pictures, which immediately attracted everyone's attention. So the neighbors clicked on the video to watch it. When they saw the beautiful life in the video, everyone was so excited that they almost went crazy. Wearing pajamas in the house. Our house is more than 70 degrees below zero. How do they keep warm? The lights are on in their house at night. Where does he get electricity? Is this really a recent video? Isn't it from the past? Some have raised doubts. There is no way. Everyone is suffering from hunger and cold now. It is really unimaginable that there are people who can eat hot and delicious meals and live in a warm and comfortable house. Chapter 53. The neighbors crazy beg Zhang Yi. One minimum immediately said, I can assure everyone that these videos were all shot recently. Zhang Yi's family has already prepared all kinds of supplies, whether it's food or fuel. So his life now is like heaven. Lin Caning also said, yes, I can prove it. When he went shopping in the supermarket, I was the one who helped him. Their family bought a lot of things later. Have you all forgotten? Lin Caning's words brought back many people's memories. Yeah, back then Zhang Yi's family used to have big cars and small cars every day, and I didn't know what he wanted to do. Could it be that he knew there would be a snowstorm in advance? That would be shameless. He didn't even tell us all. Zhang Yi is simply not human. How could he do such an immoral thing? We are all neighbors and have lived together for many years. He is so selfish. Everyone was filled with righteous indignation and blamed Zhang Yi for all the suffering they were suffering now. But they didn't think about it at all. Even if Zhang Yi told them that the end of the world was coming, would they believe it? Of course, they don't think about this. They feel that Zhang Yi owes them. Immediately someone said, Zhang Yi must be responsible for this matter. Yes, why should we have such a miserable life? And he is the only one who lives a good life. There is so much food and drink in his house, as well as medicine and energy. We must share it with all of us. It's hard for us. He has to bear the main responsibility. All the neighbors are red-eyed. They can't stand the situation. It would be fine if everyone had a miserable life. Why do we not live the lives of human beings and you enjoy the happiness alone? No, if you want to die, you have to die together. And Chen Zhenghao and others also saw the video in the group. Chen Zhenghao's eyes suddenly turned red. Zhang Yi, you bastard, you are living so comfortably. One of Chen Zhenghao's legs is useless, thanks to Zhang Yi. So in the whole unit building, he actually hated Zhang Yi the most. The reason why he didn't continue to attack Zhang Yi's family was that it was very difficult to break through Zhang Yi's family. He had suffered a lot, and he would not attack Zhang Yi unless it was a last resort. Secondly, he didn't know that Zhang Yi's family had so many resources. Otherwise, he would continue to attack Zhang Yi's house, even if he tried his best. In the large group, the chat history broke through 100 in an instant. Many people started talking about Zhang Yi and asked him to give everyone an explanation. Everyone is suffering so badly now, they are about to freeze to death and starve to death. You have so much food at home and fuel to burn the fireplace. Share some with everyone. That's right, everyone will remember your kindness. I hope you don't know good from bad. Zhang Yi, we have been old neighbors for many years. You can't just leave him alone. Zhang Yi, I'm your Aunt Wang on the 20th floor. I lent you 2 green onions before. We have such a good relationship. You have to give our family some supplies. Brother Zhang, I'm your brother Liu Wenqiang. We are blood brothers. Why don't you let me live in your house? The situation is so dangerous now. I will go to protect you. Moral kidnapping, pleading, reasonable. All kinds of people came, and there was only one central idea, which was to ask Zhang Yi to take out all the supplies in the house and distribute them to them. The news kept popping up. Zhang Yi naturally saw it. Everyone in the group was asking him to share supplies, but Zhang Yi just watched with a cold eye, not saying anything in a hurry. He wanted to see how interesting the faces of these people were. Aunt Lin, Zhang Yi, I'm the director of the neighborhood committee of our community. She promoted herself, laughing to death, and I'm also the elder of our building. I have the final say. When these materials are brought, the aunt will give all people share. Mama Zilimi, Zhang Yi, my baby and I are about to starve to death. Didn't you praise our baby before? Help us. I can let the child recognize you as a godfather. Even, you have other requirements, that's fine too. The rich second generation Zuhao, Zhang Yi, as long as you let me live in your house, I can give you all my assets. No, my father is dead, and we will give you all of our family's billions of assets. Zhang Yi watched the play for a long time, before typing a word slowly. Oh. His word made everyone even more excited. Moral kidnappers continue to be morally kidnapped, and those who ask for arms continue to ask for arms. After a long time, Zhang Yi asked lightly, am I familiar with you? Why should we share our family's things with you? At this time, everyone is on the verge of despair. In fact, it is completely pointless to reason with them. As long as they can survive, they can abandon all human moral bottom lines. Zhang Yi naturally knew that he had no intention of reasoning with these people. It's just simple, playing monkeys. His gaze was a bit evil, and the crazy neighbors at this time reminded him of the scene in his previous life. Once, out of kindness, he opened the door of his home, and then these neighbors came into his house and gave him an axe. Then when he was still alive, he couldn't wait to decompose and eat him. He wants revenge. That's why he wants to play with these poor and hateful bugs to his heart's content. Someone in the group immediately became anxious. Zhang Yi, are you talking in human language? We have been neighbors for so many years. Shouldn't we help each other? What's the point of living alone? Young people don't just think about lying down comfortably. You have to know how to give. If you hadn't kept the news and hoarded supplies secretly, how could we have ended up where we are today? Yes, everyone's life is so miserable now. It's all your fault. You must forgive. Zhang Yi. Oh. And then, below is a large group of people begging, threatening, and cursing. They are like passengers on a shipwreck in the ocean, in the frigid waters of the Arctic Ocean, surrounded by sharks. But at this time, they found a small fishing boat nearby. The boatmen above were eating hot pot, singing songs, and passed in front of them leisurely. So they swam desperately, trying to get the boatmen to pull them aboard. The more they are on the verge of despair and hope, the easier it is for people's mentality to collapse, and their faces become more ferocious. Looking at their distorted appearances, Zhang Yi smiled, and took out a bottle of top-grade Australian yellow kangaroo tail from the temperature-controlled wine cabinet in the different space, and took out a top-quality French foie gras. Red wine is a perfect match with foie gras. When the bitterness of foie gras and the astringency of red wine tannins are combined, the taste will become better. This allows Chinese people who are not used to the taste of red wine to taste its deliciousness. While eating foie gras and drinking red wine, Zhang Yi watched the wonderful performances of his neighbors. There are also people who send him private messages and make voice calls with him. Zhang Yi opened them one by one with great interest. Mama Zilimi, Zhang Yi, please save me and the baby. As long as you let me live in your house, you can do whatever you want to me. Female college student Zhang Xiaoyu, brother Zhang Yi, I'm still young, and I don't want to die. You want me? Just give me a bite to eat. There are also many female residents who have sent private messages, many of whom have husbands. They understand the current market situation very well, and they also know that money can't impress Zhang Yi at all. So they all agreed to exchange their bodies for Zhang Yi's protection, at least some food. Chapter 54 Zhaokela. What is Zhang Yi's attitude towards the news about those female owners? Just look at some interesting essays, and then I don't bother to reply. Of course, there were also a few who were willing to let go, and directly sent private selfies to Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi glanced at it casually, but he wasn't particularly interested. The main reason is that these women are overconfident. There are a few who are good looking, but most of them are mediocre. They are not like the female anchors of a certain sound, who have professionally practiced how to twist their waists and buttocks, so they are not worth seeing at all. You use this to test men. How many men can't stand this test? As for the selfishness of some male residents, it is even simpler. Instead of being called brothers, the eldest brother and the younger brother shouted, and then begged Zhang Yi for help. It is some old men who are kidnapped by morality, and ask Zhang Yi to take care of them. The most disgusting thing is that there is another gay. As for his request, Zhang Yi doesn't want to talk about it. After looking around, Zhang Yi felt bored. He found a mobile phone holder, put the mobile phone in front of him, and expected some new ideas to appear. Then, I lay on the sofa, drinking red wine, and eating foie gras, while admiring the beautiful snow outside the window. Half a month has passed, and the snow outside the window still hasn't stopped. The whole city was completely covered by heavy snow. According to Zhang Yi's memory, 1 month after the snow fell, everything below the 4th floor was submerged. As for how long it will last, he doesn't know. However, there was really no need for him to go out. Going out is to find the hope of life, but now no one knows where to live except Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi held his chin and lazily said to himself, staying at home every day is quite boring. Why don't you find a time to go out? When the people in this building are almost dead, he can go out for a walk. Zhang Yi thought for a while and suddenly remembered that there were still several snowmobiles in his warehouse. Those were originally going to be shipped to a nearby city for an artificial ice and snowfield. In this way, even if the snow outside is more than 10 meters thick, he still has a way to go out. Although it's impossible for me to leave this room now, with this method, I can go out to have some fun in the future under the condition of ensuring safety. Zhang Yi was a little moved. I'm always at home and sometimes I'm bored, so it's good to go out and relax. He has national professional level cold-proof clothing and a snowmobile. Even if it is -4 degrees, he is not afraid. Zhang Yi continued to read the news of the neighbors boredly. Among these people, there was one person who caught Zhang Yi's attention. The news sent by Zhao Kenna was not to show misery or send private photos, but a very calm hope to exchange with Zhang Yi. Mr. Zhang, our family's food and medicine are almost exhausted recently. I hope you can provide some help. In order to thank you, I can provide you with medical assistance in the future. Zhao Kenna? Her appearance quickly appeared in Zhang Yi's mind. A 1-year-old female doctor at the number 26 People's Hospital in Xianhe City, with a slender and tall body, at least 175 centimeters in height. The deepest impression on Zhang Yi was not her cool ascetic pretty face, but her proud figure with 36D. Especially when wearing a black sweater in winter, Zhang Yi couldn't help but look at him every time he met him in the elevator. As expected of a doctor, he is very sensible. He didn't sell me miserably to ask for alms, but he wanted to exchange it with me, right? Zhang Yi appreciates Zhao Kenna's attitude. In the last days, only those who are worthy are qualified to live. And Zhao Kenna showed her own value, that is her superb medical skills. After all, without a certain ability, it is impossible to enter the number 1 civilian hospital in Xianhe City. In the last days, medical skills are also very important skills. Although Zhang Yi has prepared a lot of medicine, he is also doing homework in this area during this time. However, he wasn't vain enough to think he could handle all ailments. If there is a doctor by his side, it will undoubtedly provide a great guarantee for his survival in the doomsday. The most important thing is that Zhang Yi has examined Zhao Kenna's human nature. In the previous life, the reason why she died was because she gave food to Ziliha. Whether it is completely desperate or really kind, at least Zhang Yi sees the brilliance of humanity in her. Zhang Yi put his left hand on the base of his thigh and adjusted his posture. Resting her chin with the other hand, she said to herself, why don't you leave her to take care of me and my good brother? Although I live quite comfortably now, my brother's life is a bit miserable. This is a problem. Zhang Yi is a vigorous young man, and he will not shy away from this issue. What's more, in the last days when morality and etiquette are gone, human beings don't need to live too depressed, just face their own desires honestly. Ha 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 ha. Zhang Yi suddenly laughed. He patted the armrest and said, I'm really moved, it's a pity, it's a pity. He looked up at the ceiling and said leisurely, I'm very afraid of death. Although Zhao Kenna is a choice that can be considered, but without % control over her, I can't let her in. Hey, let's have a look before we talk. There will definitely be survivors in the future. Brother, we have such good conditions, why don't we worry about finding a good doctor and a good woman? Zhang Yi can think about it, he deserves to be a man who died once. He replied to Zhao Kenna, I'm in good health now, and there is no need to use a doctor. But I do have a lot of medicine at home, not to mention food. You want to exchange, at least come up with something that is useful to me now. No matter what kind of beautiful and talented doctor you are, you don't even want to prostitute me for nothing. When did our old Zhang ever make a loss-making business? There was a long silence over there before replying to Zhang Yi. Just treat it as an advance payment for consultation. I really can't hold on anymore. Zhao Ke's tone was somewhat hesitant and shameful. It can be seen that, if there is no other way, she will not easily pray to a man she doesn't know well. After thinking for a moment, Zhang Yi said to her, I can give you food and medicine. But you have to do me a favor too. What are you busy with? Zhao Ke asked. Zhang Yi said, these neighbors are probably going to attack me. If you know what they want to do, please let me know. Zhang Yi knew that these crazy neighbors would definitely attack his house. But he wasn't afraid. When he built this steel fortress, he spent so much money and personally selected many functions. The purpose is to wait for this day to come. At the moment, his home is like a less powerful war fortress. Even if a group of soldiers with live ammunition wanted to break into his house, it would be impossible without heavy weapons. Not to mention this group of living dead neighbors who endured hunger and cold for half a month, with only half breath left. He made such a condition, just to find an excuse for Zhao Ke. And one more insider, after all, can provide an extra layer of insurance, allowing him to prepare early. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 55. The neighbors want to knife Zhang Yi. After Zhao Ke hesitated for a long time, he finally agreed. Her morality and conscience do not allow her to be a despicable person. However, the behavior of the neighbors who chose to rob Zhang Yi out of jealousy was even worse in her eyes. So she chose to help Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi said, well, I want to see your useful information first, and then give you what you want. Next, it depends on your performance. Zhao Ke said, yes, I understand. She is a kind-hearted woman, but she is definitely not stupid. She would not foolishly ask Zhang Yi to help her unconditionally. The conversation between the two ended here. Zhang Yi glanced at Dakwon. The news in it was 99+, and 8 was still going on, kidnapping and intimidating him morally. Zhang Yi, where did you die? Give us an answer, whether or not to hand over the supplies in your hands. Someone is getting impatient. A sneer twitched at the corner of Zhang Yi's mouth. It seemed that they were already planning to storm their home. Go eat shit. Zhang Yi replied with a smile. Immediately, there was a lot of cursing in the group, and all kinds of obscene words were uttered. Zhang Yi doesn't care. Come here if you have the ability. Now he has already tried to kill people with his own hands, and he doesn't feel any guilt, so he doesn't mind killing more. Okay, Zhang Yi, you asked for this. But don't say that the big guy didn't give you a chance, you selfish and despicable villain. From now on, all the consequences that happen will be borne by yourself. The scolding gradually died down. You don't need to guess, they must have avoided Zhang Yi and formed a group alone, like they did with Chen Zhenghao before. Then discuss together how to attack Zhang Yi's home. Zhang Yi took a deep breath. And there was a look of nervousness and excitement in his eyes, so excited that his body began to tremble slightly. Even if you know that your home is an impregnable steel fortress, but you are really facing the attack of hundreds of people, it must be deceiving not to be nervous. But that feeling of excitement ignited the blood in Zhang Yi's bones. He has long wanted to teach those bastards who ate him a lesson with his own hands. A white light flashed in Zhang Yi's eyes, and soon his weapon appeared in the living room. 5 fine steel crossbows, 3 professional grade advanced composite bows, more than 290 crossbow arrows, and 300 bows and arrows. At the same time, there are 2 iron boxes and steel columns. Machete, 1.2 meters large crowbar, baseball bat, hunting knife. All the weapons are displayed on the table, and are good tools for killing people. In addition to these physical weapons, there are anti-wolf spray, electric buttons, gasoline, a large number of chemical reagents, and dozens of Molotov cocktails he made with wine bottles, cloth strips, and gasoline. Zhang Yi's eyes had a cold glint. As many people as there are, let them come. Just as Zhang Yi expected, the neighbors were all angry when they saw that Zhang Yi could not hand over the supplies at home. Sun Zichao created a new group chat and then pulled in all the living owners except Zhang Yi. They even brought Chen Zhenghao in. After everyone saw Chen Zhenghao, their backs felt a little chilled. However, Chen Zhenghao took the initiative to say, everyone, Our primary goal now is to deal with Zhang Yi. Their family's supplies are probably more than the sum of all of us. As long as he is knocked down, we can get a lot of supplies. So don't worry, I won't do anything to others now. But for this operation, I want half of the supplies I got. Chen Zhenghao suffered a loss in Zhang Yi's hands, and he knew that Zhang Yi's family had sufficient defense and hand crossbows. So he didn't dare to attack by himself, so he planned to take the cannon fodder in the building with him. He felt that more than 100 people could break Zhang Yi's house no matter what. Zhang Yi, how many weapons can you have? How many people can be shot? There are more than 100 people in the whole building, and Chen Zhenghao and the others only have 6 people, but they ask for half of the supplies. But no one thought it was unfair, but thought Chen Zhenghao was a good person. He obviously has a gun in his hand, but he is willing to share half of us. What a man. Sun Zichao said, yes, everyone should temporarily put aside the previous grievances. The primary goal is to break into Zhang Yi's house and get back the supplies that belong to the collective. The two took the lead in yelling, and the others naturally responded. After they saw the living conditions of Zhang Yi's family, their jealous eyes turned red, and they wished to kill Zhang Yi immediately and enjoy the current life for him. Knife in hand, follow me. Kill Zhang Yi and grab supplies. Kill that shameless selfish bastard. The big guy roared aggressively. Only a few people did not speak, such as Uncle Yu and Zhao Ke. Others, even if they have a good relationship with Zhang Yi on weekdays, and those who have been favored by Zhang Yi, forget about those things. Nothing is more important than being alive. In order to survive, they can give up all ethics and morality. Zhang Yi was cleaning the gun in his hand at home. He is no stranger to this thing, and he used it often in the shooting club before. And 1 month before the arrival of the mode, he also strengthened his training. There is no pressure to hit people at close range. At this time, Zhao Ke sent a message. They're going to go to your house. After Zhang Yi saw it, he replied, oh, I see. Sitting on the sofa at home, Zhao Ke frowned when she saw Zhang Yi's calm reply. She tightened the 2 layers of quilt around her body and shrank her snow-white feet inside. Every household should have passed by. They saw your video and went crazy. Don't you want to think of a way? Zhao Ke felt that at this time, the most sensible thing to do was to hand over part of the supplies to eliminate everyone's anger. Otherwise, no matter how powerful a person is, it is impossible to fight against so many people. With more than 100 people, it is not difficult to demolish a house. Zhang Yi smiled and didn't explain too much. He just said, remember, don't come here this time. I only remind you once. Then, just wait and see the good show. Zhao Ke frowned. Her eyes were full of curiosity. She didn't know where Zhang Yi got the confidence to fight against more than 100 people in the whole building with his own strength. This is not a joke. Once the house is broken into, the crazy people will definitely kill him. Could it be that he is a madman? Zhao Ke muttered to himself. But this is Zhang Yi's own choice, and she has nothing to do. However, she did obey Zhang Yi's words, and did not follow the group of people to attack Zhang Yi's house. She is a person with a bottom line of morality, and will not eat human blood buns, whether it belongs to Zhang Yi or other neighbors. Chapter 56. Zhang Yi sat at home, quietly waiting for those crazy neighbors to come. He had a serious expression on his face, and there were a lot of weapons in front of him. At this moment, he received a message from Uncle Yu, the guard. Zhang, run away. They have brought their guys to find you. Zhang Yi's heart warmed slightly. In this world, it is rare for there to be good people. He smiled and said, Uncle Yu, don't worry, I can handle it. Uncle Yu was silent for a moment and seemed to understand that there was no place to run at this time point. Resistance is the only option. He said, Zhang, I hope you can survive. I'm sorry, this time, I may not be able to help you. Uncle Yu was very ashamed. He actually accepted Zhang Yi's kindness. When Zhang Yi reminded him to buy supplies, he made a lot of instant noodles, ham sausages and other things at home. Living standard is okay now. But seeing that Zhang Yi was about to be besieged by so many people, he was helpless. Zhang Yi said indifferently, the fact that you don't join them already shows your kindness. It's okay, I don't need you to worry about it here. Uncle Yu's choice was the most correct. Now that he came to help Zhang Yi, he was afraid that he would be hacked to death by those more than 100 owners. After a brief chat with Uncle Yu, Zhang Yi was careful not to mention the details of his family. It is imperative to be defensive. No matter who the other party is, he will never fully trust him. Soon after, Zhang Yi felt a slight tremor under his feet. There was a rumbling sound outside. Coming. Zhang Yi said lightly. He knew that it was the sound of hundreds of people rushing up the stairs. But Zhang Yi lives on the 24th floor. The elevator is out of power, and these guys who can only run the stairs must be exhausted. Of course, the people who came were not just downstairs. At the very least, through the big screen in front of Zhang Yi monitoring the whole unit building, he saw his neighbor from 2402 next door also came out with a kitchen knife and a wrench. Next door was a young couple. The woman hid behind the man with a kitchen knife in her hand. There was green light in the eyes of the two of them, and they looked at Zhang Yi's house faintly. Presumably, after learning that their neighbors have lived a heavenly life for the past half month, their hearts are already jealous. Crowds came one after another, blocking the corridor in front of Zhang Yi's house. Several people held umbrellas above their heads to prevent Zhang Yi from pouring cold water outside. Not long after, someone couldn't help but rushed up and smashed the door. Boom. 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 Zhang Yi, get out. If you don't want to die, this is your last chance. Don't wait for us to rush in, otherwise it will be too late to say anything. Zhang Yi went through the monitoring, but he didn't see Sun Zichao and others, let alone Chen Zhenghao. And the behavior of these people smashing the door made him confirm one point. Sun Zichao, Chen Zhenghao and others did not tell them the actual situation in their home at all. In other words, their purpose is to use other neighbors as cannon fodder to withstand Zhang Yi's crossbow arrows and high voltage electric attacks first. Zhang Yi is not polite to them either. Anyway, he has plenty of energy in his hand, and it is not bad at all. The high voltage electric button is directly connected. The young man who was still smashing the door angrily just now was directly bitten by the electric current, and his face was distorted. The most frightening thing was that the entire corridor was in a crowded state, because more than 100 people crowded in. So after he was shocked, even a large group of people behind him were electrified. What? It's high voltage electricity, stay away. The person behind seemed to have been bitten by a tiger and hurriedly let go. If they hadn't worn too many clothes, they would have no chance to break free. Everyone was shocked by high voltage electricity, and their painful muscles twitched. The person who knocked on the door and the 7 or 8 people around him were the worst. Since they had no chance to escape, they were directly burnt black from the electric shock. The others looked at them in horror, but no one dared to go to save them. 10 seconds later, Zhang Yi cut off the current. Green smoke rose from the bodies of the 9 people, and the air began to be filled with the smell of barbecue and burnt clothes. Boom. 9 people fell to the ground together. Their bodies were scorched black, and they didn't know whether they were dead or alive. But everyone knew in their hearts that, even if these people were still breathing, they were already dead in the current situation. Everyone stared wide-eyed, looking at the scene in front of them in horror. They didn't expect that so many people would die at once, and it was right in front of them. The person who died from the electric shock had an extremely ferocious expression, and his eyes were wide open. Suddenly, several women in the crowd couldn't take it anymore, screamed, bent down and vomited. It's a pity that they have nothing in their stomachs and can only vomit acid water. Some people are afraid and want to run away. When he reached the stairs, he realized that the corridor had been blocked by Chen Zhenghao and his younger brother. What do you want? Go back to me. With a gun in his hand, Chen Zhenghao said in a dark voice. The corridor was the only way for them to escape back. Chen Zhenghao blocked this place just to let everyone fight Zhang Yi desperately. It would be better if they were dead. Chen Zhenghao could justifiably steal the resources in their hands. Sun Zichao and several others dragged their sick bodies to the scene. They looked at the 9 corpses with indifferent expressions. Obviously, they had the same idea as Chen Zhenghao and others. Sun Zichao saw that everyone was afraid, so he yelled, "Damn Zhang Yi, what a beast. He even killed his neighbor. Brothers and sisters, we must kill Zhang Yi and avenge them. Don't be afraid. Everyone use wood to hit the door. Just don't touch the door. He doesn't have much means. He is already at the end of his rope." As long as we break through this door, there will be a comfortable stove behind us, and there will be endless food waiting for us. Sun Tzu's encouragement made many people red-eyed. They lived in hunger and cold for more than half a month, and they were willing to give everything for a bite of food and a moment of warmth. Immediately, someone found a piece of wood, which seemed to be removed from the wardrobe or the bed. "Brothers, hit me. Open the door, and kill that bastard Zhang Yi." A group of people hugged the wood, aimed at Zhang Yi's gate, and began to slam into it crazily. Boom. 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 The violent impact made the water glasses on Zhang Yi's coffee table start to shake. Zhang Yi felt that he was not enjoying himself enough. He took out a large Sennheiser speaker from a different space, connected it to his mobile phone, and played his favorite song Love while making. The people outside were banging on the door desperately, but the classic happy song sounded inside the door, which made them even more angry. "Zhang Yi, you are arrogant cunba. I will kill you immediately. You must die today, and you must pay for my brother's life." They picked up the stakes and bumped more and more vigorously. But after dozens of bumps, they found that the door hadn't moved at all. More than a dozen adult men exert their strength together, which is enough to have the strength of thousands of catties. Then on the big black iron door, only white spots and almost undetectable depressions were left. The hearts of the neighbors are cold. What kind of door is this? Why is it so strong? At this speed, when will the door be broken down? Everyone was out of breath. They are working in a temperature of -70 degrees, and because they don't have enough to eat, they don't have much strength at all. After this, many people's legs became weak, and they had to be rotated. But according to the current progress, I'm afraid it will exhaust everyone to death. At this time, a person came over, stared at the door for a while, and then exclaimed, This is the security door of the bank vault. This person works in a bank, and when he took a closer look, he immediately noticed the clue. When the people around heard it, they felt even more desperate. Then this thing can't pretend to be broken? The bank staff shook his head bitterly. Don't talk about hitting it with wood. This kind of top security door, even if you use bombs, you can't open it. If there is no key, only the world's top lockpicking experts have a chance to open it. At this time, Zhang Yi held up the hand crossbow and had already reached the shooting hole. Chapter 57. Looking at the people who were still chattering outside the door to discuss countermeasures. This time, Zhang Yi didn't bother to aim. They are all neighbors with very ordinary relations. If you kill them, you will kill them. Because of the indiscriminate shooting, Zhang Yi's hand speed also increased. Quickly load the crossbow with one hand, and then shoot the bow directly. Call out. A sharp piercing sound passed by, and suddenly there was a scream. A man clutched his neck and slowly fell to the ground with horrified eyes. Everyone looked over, only to find a rusty crossbow bolt stuck in his neck. He has a weapon. Watch out. The people around screamed in fright, and then hurriedly tried to disperse. But the Isle is such a big place. Hundreds of families are crowded together, and people can't run close to each other. The big guy was so anxious because of fear, but he tripped over a large area with hula. Zhang Yi doesn't care about that. Anyway, he just does two things, loading and shooting. With the power of a professional hand crossbow plus a tetanus arrow, there is almost no possibility of surviving after being shot. Call out. Call out. Call out. The sharp piercing sound was like a life-threatening mantra, which made every neighbor feel heartbroken. There were screams one after another, and the person who was hit by the arrow was bleeding, and fell to the ground on the spot. This made the others even more frightened, and they squeezed desperately into the stairwell. Some people fell to the ground, and were stepped on before they could get up. Screams are everywhere. Chen Zhenghao stood in front of the stairs with a gun in his hand, aiming at the people who wanted to escape. What are you afraid of? He's just alone. Fuck me. Chen Zhenghao's icy eyes and black muzzle scared away everyone who wanted to run away. Chen Zhenghao's purpose was to use them as cannon fodder, to consume Zhang Yi's defensive means, and of course it was impossible to let them escape. In order to survive, Sun Tzu and others stayed in the distance early, and they were not hit by the arrow. Zhang Yi shot dozens of crossbow arrows, and in such a crowded place, almost none of them failed. This also means that at least dozens of people will die soon. However, the potential of people in desperate situations is still very strong. Immediately, someone discovered the location of the shooting hole and said, "There is a hole in the door. The arrows he shoots from there, just block it." Immediately, someone raised the mop and broom in their hands and blocked the shooting holes above the door. Some people tried to throw things into Zhang Yi's room. Zhang Yi took his time and quickly closed the iron door behind the shooting hole and locked it. This thing can only be opened from the inside. The outside is impenetrable. But this time, Zhang Yi eliminated dozens of combat powers in one go. Seeing that Zhang Yi could no longer shoot arrows, the neighbors recovered from their panic. The ground was in a mess, and many people were shot by arrows, with varying degrees of injury. The wounds of the 3 people were all on their necks and heads, and they died immediately. But when the neighbors saw the rusty tetanus arrow, their hearts sank. They knew that it would be very difficult for all those who were shot by the arrow to survive. Some people lost their loved ones and cursed Zhang Yi loudly while crying bitterly. "Zhang Yi, you bloody thief, you are despicable and shameless. Come out if you have the ability. I will fight you one-on-one. You murderer, I'm going to fight you. Zhang Yi, I will kill you." And the only response to them was still the explosive high song in the room. Only after love, how deep is love? Only after losing what to cherish. There was a lot of yelling and cursing outside the house, and there was constant singing inside the house, which was very similar to Zhang Yi's provocation to everyone. In fact it is. Zhang Yi shot dozens of crossbow arrows in one breath. Feeling a little sore, he went to the kitchen, took out a bottle of Coke from the refrigerator, and drank it down. Ah, cool. Zhang Yi looked at the screen and continued to monitor every move of the people outside. But at this time, seeing that the gate of Zhang Yi's house was impenetrable, the neighbors felt anxious and desperate. "This is how to do our..." At this time, Sun Zichao shouted, "Everyone, don't worry. I have a solution." Everyone followed the prestige, and Sun Zichao walked over with difficulty, clutching his injured leg. He pointed to the wall of Zhang Yi's house and said with a smile, "The door of their house is made of alloy. We can't break it open. But this wall is not bricks and cement. I don't believe it can't be smashed." When everyone heard this, a wise light appeared in their eyes. "Yeah, why didn't I think of that? The door cannot be smashed open. We can smash the wall. With so many of us, it won't take long to smash this wall." Zhang Yi, you bastard, you never thought we could do this. In the room, Zhang Yi saw the neighbors cheering suddenly and immediately raised his eyebrows. The music was turned up too loud, and I didn't know what they were talking about. But Zhang Yi was not in a hurry and planned to wait and see what happened. He is not afraid of the opponent's tricks, anyway, not as many as him. It took a month of hard work to build such an indestructible fortress. If you break it casually, then I, Zhang Yi, should be damned. These people come with tools. So they quickly lined up to the outer wall of Zhang Yi's house, swung their hammers and axes and started smashing. Boom. A big man exhausted all his breastfeeding strength and smashed the hammer hard on the wall. Suddenly, the top cracked and large white ash fluffs fell. When everyone saw this, their eyes were full of excitement, and they felt that they had found a breakthrough for Zhang Yi's family. Then they smashed harder. However, when the big man picked up the hammer and hit it a second time, there was a sound of gold and iron colliding suddenly. Ping. And the big man let out a scream at the same time, and the hammer in his hand fell to the ground with a loud crash. He backed up a few steps and fell to the ground. Everyone saw that his hands had been split open, and the blood flowed out, which quickly solidified under the low temperature, making him look particularly oozing. How is this going? Everyone was very puzzled. What kind of wall can withstand the impact of the sledgehammer? Someone walked over and reached out to sweep away the big dust outside. When he saw the things behind, his jaw almost dropped in shock. The inside of this wall is also made of steel. Everyone was taken aback, and they all came over to watch. Sure enough, after peeling off the outer layer of white ash, that kind of thick black metal appeared behind. The material is exactly the same as the door leaf. One person couldn't help shouting up to the sky, "Why is this happening? Whose house is built with steel plates? I don't believe this house is all made of iron." Some people can't bear this despair anymore, and they pick up the hammer and hit other places. Several people work together, hoping to find a flaw in the wall. However, no matter which angle they looked at, what they finally found was a solid and thick steel wall. In the living room, Zhang Yi curled his lips in disdain. The question that you can think of, can I not think of it at the beginning? I'm sorry, even the walls of my house are made of 20 cm stainless steel. Cannonballs can't break through. I will be afraid of your broken hammers and axes? Zhang Yi's biggest advantage is that he is afraid of death, so he solved all the problems he could think of. At the time of acceptance, I checked every inch by myself and hit it with a hammer, so I was relieved. After all, the psychological shadow of being broken into by someone in the previous life was too great. No matter what he said, he didn't want to do it a second time. The sound of knocking outside was still going on. Zhang Yi disliked the noise, so he turned on the noise reduction function of the room. This is to prevent outsiders from using the noise to attack. After about 20 minutes, the sound completely subsided. The owner of the whole building stared blankly at the entire metal wall in front of him. His heart was colder than the ice and snow outside. It was like a cruel wall, cutting off their hope of obtaining supplies. How could this be? Why would someone build such a house? Someone covered his face and shouted in a broken voice. Zhang Yi's neighbors, the young couple, also said sadly, at the beginning, I knew about the renovation of their home, but I didn't expect it to be like this. In this world, probably few normal people would build such a house. The eyes of Sun Zichao, Zhao Peng, and Zhejialian Alian were bloodshot. If the people in the entire apartment building can't break through Zhang Yi's house today, they can only wait to die. Sun Zichao bit his lip so hard that he didn't even notice that it was bleeding. Zhang Yi, he already knew there would be a snowstorm. Everything he did was to prevent us. Sun Zichao pointed at Zhang Yi's house and shouted angrily. The neighbors took a look at him, weeping and scolding Zhang Yi in pain. The despicable Zhang Yi only cares about his own life and doesn't care about all of us. If we are all dead, what's the point of living alone? If you are the only one in the world, won't you be lonely? One day, you will fall into endless regret and self-blame because you didn't remind us or help us. Can you sleep at night? Don't you feel guilty? Seeing that there was nothing to do with Zhang Yi, some people even started to use RQ spirit to comfort themselves. HMPH, sooner or later God will punish you, Zhang Yi. If we die because of you, you will surely have a restless conscience and live in pain all your life. How did they know how happy Zhang Yi was living in his own home? How could they take strangers who are more familiar with them seriously? Chen Zhenghao has been monitoring with a gun in the back. Seeing the wall made of all metal at this time, he also felt the difficulty of the problem. Now, he is not interested in anyone else. He just wants to grab Zhang Yi's house. What are you anxious about? This is just the beginning. Even if the walls of their house are made of iron, what about the ceiling? The floor? I don't believe he got out of a tin box. Chen Zhenghao said to everyone coldly. Zhang Yi heard Chen Zhenghao's words through surveillance and nodded approvingly. This bastard's brain is very easy to use. Then he sighed, shook his head and said, but it's a pity, I'm not stupid. After hearing Chen Zhenghao's words, the neighbors ran upstairs and downstairs of Zhang Yi's house. Smash with a hammer, chop with an axe, chisel with a chisel, and strike with a stick. In short, they used all available means. They are only 20 centimeters away from their hope of life, and their goal is to break the 20 centimeters. But soon, they fell into a deeper level of despair. They discovered that Zhang Yi's house was really an iron box. Up and down, left and right, there is no angle that is not sealed by thick iron plates. In this power-off environment, there are no tools such as chainsaws and electric drills. Only if they chisel for a year without eating or drinking, can they hope to break through these walls. Chapter 58 Despair. Chen Zhenghao and others surrounded Zhang Yi's house and smashed the walls, working all morning. But after digging out the wall skin, floor, and ceiling, it was found that they were blocked by a thick layer of steel plates. A 20 centimeters thick steel plate is nothing short of a nightmare for them. If only manpower is used, there is no hope of breaking it now. After all, working at ultra low temperature and not being able to get enough energy to supplement the loss of physical strength will only speed up their death. Many people were so tired that they collapsed to the ground. Gilu gilu voices rang out. They caressed their shriveled stomachs, and hunger was about to overwhelm them completely. But there wasn't much left to eat. Some people saw their neighbors through the gaps in their clothes, saw the snow white flesh. An idea suddenly popped up in my mind. Isn't this just meat? As soon as the terrifying thought appeared, everyone immediately turned cold with fright and tried hard to drive this thought out of their minds. But when this idea came into being, it gave people an option in a desperate situation. They probably also know that, if that day really comes, killing each other and cannibalism will definitely happen. Is there really no other way? Sun Zichao's face was full of pain, and he even felt that his arm had begun to inflame and fester. Without antibiotics, not even ordinary anti-inflammatory drugs, let alone effectively clean the wound, there is still a lot of rust left on his wound. In this case, death is almost inevitable. Damn Zhang Yi, why are you so vicious? How can you live alone compared to so many of us? What's wrong with sacrificing yourself? What's wrong? Sun Zichao roared to the sky. His heart was completely distorted by despair. At this time, Zhang Yi's neighbor suddenly came out. Maybe you guys can try walking on the balcony. When their house was being renovated, the balcony was changed to floor-to-ceiling windows, and a large part of it was covered with glass. Maybe there is a chance to break in. Other residents cannot see the back of Zhang Yi's house, but his neighbors can. In building 25, some floors have a balcony, and the 24th floor where Zhang Yi lives happens to have a small platform. On weekdays, it is used by him to grow flowers and dry quilts. Hearing what Zhang Yi's neighbor said, a group of desperate people suddenly raised their heads. Windows? Hahaha, yes. Since there are windows in his house, there must be exits. It's impossible to seal them all. As long as there is a window, you can rush in. A group of people broke in from the house next door to Zhang Yi without any explanation. There is actually a gap of about 15 centimeters between the two balconies, and a fence is installed in the middle. But these can't stop the crazy people now. However, the outside of the balcony is no different than the corridor. At this time, the corridors were sealed off by every household, so they were airtight and still had some effect of keeping warm. However, the north wind is howling outside, and the snow is flying heavily, which can freeze people to death in a few hours. Chen Zhenghao and others don't care about these. As long as they can rush into Zhang Yi's house, they can get everything. A group of people screamed and jumped onto the balcony of Zhang Yi's house like crazy people. Zhang Yi naturally also noticed such a scene. The two sides looked at each other for less than a second. The neighbors waved the tools in their hands and smashed them towards the huge French windows frantically, and Zhang Yi dragged his white recliner to the window, lay down unhurriedly, and poured himself a steaming cup of coffee. The small balcony was quickly filled with more than a dozen people. Their faces were pale, like living corpses, coupled with their crazy and distorted expressions. They really didn't look like living people at all. Zhang Yi thought to himself, if there were zombies, it would probably be at this level. Bang, 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 ding dong, deep voices echoed through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Braving the wind and snow, these lunatics are trying hard to smash the glass. Even if they hadn't accidentally hit their hands, they didn't feel any pain, and let the blood flow out and then condense. When I first hit the wall, the feeling of longing was not obvious enough. But at this time, only a layer of glass separated them, allowing them to see more clearly how extravagant Zhang Yi's life is. The fireplace in the room was blazing, and Zhang Yi was only wearing unlined clothes, lying on a white recliner like a landlord. There is a cup of brewed coffee in hand, still steaming. The amount of milk froth should be a cappuccino. The end table is full of weapons, but that's beside the point. The point is under the coffee table. A lot of half-eaten snacks are thrown there. Potato chips, burgers, cola, pizza, roast chicken, roast duck, and even fried noodles. It was these things that drove the neighbors on the balcony completely crazy. After only leaving them for half a month, they were as excited as seeing their long-lost relatives. They were so excited that they even forgot their voices, but howled desperately to express their excitement. Then he worked even harder and smashed the window with all his might. Holding coffee in his hand, Zhang Yi enjoyed the good show. He just said lightly, "Who said glass must be weaker than metal? The cost of this wall is extremely high." For the sake of quality of life, Zhang Yi rejected the proposal of Xinlang Security Company and did not use metal here. Instead, it cost a lot of money to customize an entire side of bulletproof glass as floor-to-ceiling windows. He still remembered that woohoo Iron, the manager of Xinlang Security Company, said, with such a thick wall, it is no longer protecting against bullets, but shells. The bulletproof glass on the special vehicle of the head of state of the West that can withstand the sniper rifle is this kind of material. However, their thickness is less than half of Zhang Yi's wall. Sure enough, this group of people found out that something was wrong after smashing and smashing. I thought it was plexiglass, and it could be smashed with a few hard hits. But a dozen people smashed it for a long time. Why didn't even a crack come out? What kind of glass is this? Is it bulletproof glass? What? Bulletproof glass? The word came out hoarsely from the throat of a man with glasses, but it was full of despair, as if it came from the 18 layers of hell. It can even defend against shells, but can't it prevent your manual work? No, I don't believe it. A young man looked up to the sky and roared, my fate is up to me. I don't believe I can't break it. As long as you break it, the fireplace and food and drink in the house will be mine. I must break it. Probably under the extremely cold temperature, jumping around in this kind of hope and despair, everyone's brains were frozen. They chose to throw away their rationality, work desperately and recklessly, and fight for a future. Zhang Yi applauded for them, expressing his touch. However, he felt a little hungry. So I took out some food from the space, such as sauce flavored elbows, shredded bananas, and some snacks, such as pure cocoa butter chocolate. Chapter 59 Smash it hard. Did you not eat? There was only one floor of windows, and the people outside were smashing the glass desperately with distorted expressions under the icy wind and snow. On the other side, Zhang Yi lay leisurely on the deck chair, eating delicious food. This stark contrast made the neighbors outside almost go crazy with jealousy. Cursing from their mouths, their voices were hoarse, their eyes were red. Zhang Yi, just wait for me, I'll kill you right away. I smashed this glass and you're finished, you bloody bastard, selfish scum. You don't have much time to be rampant, today is your death day. So many delicious food, as well as hot coffee, are all mine, all mine. Hearing this, Zhang Yi raised the coffee in his hand to signal to them. Come on, keep going. Soon, the group of people outside couldn't do anything. After all, this is the 24th floor, the wind is very strong. Coupled with the heavy snowfall, his body temperature dropped rapidly. They had to change groups of people every 10 minutes. But half an hour later, there were only some tiny scratches on the glass. Their hearts are getting more and more desperate. But through a layer of transparent glass, watching Zhang Yi live so comfortably, their jealousy made them reluctant to give up. After half an hour, they were still trying. Zhang Yi saw several little Karami under Chen Zhengheo's men in the crowd. Obviously, at such a time, it is impossible for Chen Zhengheo to do nothing. Zhang Yi felt that it was almost time. So he sat up from the recliner, went to the coffee table, and picked up a bottle. There was a layer of frost on the outside glass, and the neighbors didn't know what Zhang Yi was holding at first. They thought it was a drink. But the next moment, they saw Zhang Yi take out a lighter and ignite something. Immediately, a hole appeared above their heads, and a ball of fire was thrown out of it. As a means of counterattack, Zhang Yi's house has shooting holes in the front and back, and there are more than one. The bottle passed a yellow arc in the air, and fell to the ground amidst everyone's astonished eyes. Snapped. There was a crisp sound, and then the raging flames burst into flames. This is Zhang Yi's self-made combustion bottle. Even at ultra-low temperature, gasoline can still burn happily and release heat. The gasoline in the bottle splashed all over the place, and it burst into flames all of a sudden. There wasn't much space on the balcony, and the down jackets and cotton trousers of these dozen people were stained with gasoline, and a large flame suddenly burst into flames. With a playful smile on the corner of Zhang Yi's mouth, he continued to ignite the next Molotov cocktail, and threw it outside. Ah! Fire! Fire! More than a dozen people are crowded together, and the balcony is separated. It is not so easy to jump to the balcony of the next door. These people couldn't run away, and their bodies were corroded by the flames. Zhang Yi saw that they had turned into balls of burning and distorted fireballs. Some people want to roll on the ground and use snowflakes to extinguish the flames, but the effect is too weak. Gasoline can still burn even in contact with water. Some people tried to climb to the next door in vain, but they lost their hands and feet in a hurry and fell directly from the 24th floor. Following a long scream, there was a boom. With a height of 24 floors, I don't know if the snow below can offset the impact. However, according to the principles of physics, even if he is not dead, his bones and tendons will be broken, and his internal organs will be ruptured. It's like being dead. Zhang Yi said with a smile. At least falling to death is better than being burned to death. Boom. A ferocious face suddenly threw itself on the glass, with a distorted and terrifying expression, staring at Zhang Yi viciously. Help me, save me. In extreme pain, he called out to Zhang Yi for help. Zhang Yi raised his coffee cup to salute him. I'll save your head. Go to hell, trash. The man made a desperate sound, and was completely swallowed by the flames. On the balcony next door, there are 70 people waiting for a shift change. Seeing this hell-like scene of Shura, his face turned pale with fright. Help, help me. I don't want to die, please. The person who was burning with flames wanted to climb over to ask for help, but he grabbed the railing with both hands and was about to climb over. At this moment, a man here kicked his hand hard without hesitation. Get out of here. You're hopeless, don't get us involved. He kicked over, but the burning man still refused to let go. He gritted his teeth, increased his strength, and kicked down again and again. He even kicked his fingers off. The man struggled for a while, finally looked at them in despair, and slowly fell in front of the fence. The air smelled of burnt meat. It didn't take long for the dozen or so people to die. Some people were obviously not seriously burned at first and wanted to escape, but they were all stopped by the neighbors next door. They were afraid that the flames would burn themselves, so they chose to let these people die. Others were burned so painfully that they jumped 24 floors by themselves. The fat in the human body is also a good fuel, and the raging fire actually brought them a long-lost warmth. So, everyone walked forward slowly, stretched out their hands to warm the fire, and showed a smile on their faces that they were afraid that others would notice. The flames burned for 20 minutes before they stopped. The neighbors looked at the charred corpse on the ground and felt fear in their hearts. In order to deal with Zhang Yi, they have already killed 30 or 40 people. There is no chance of breaking the door from all angles. What should I do to snatch the supplies from Zhang Yi's hands? Sniffy young man who hadn't eaten for 2 days sniffed. He suddenly felt that the smell of burning fat was very fragrant, very much like his favorite self-service barbecue in the past. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but look at the dozens of charred corpses on the ground. Involuntarily, he swallowed his saliva. In the air, the sound of swallowing saliva rose one after another. The young man looked at the crowd in astonishment. On everyone's thin and numb faces, he saw more than one person showing the desire to eat. However, because there were too many people at the scene, their remaining traces of moral bottom line made them feel embarrassed to do it. But if there is no one else here, maybe they really went to eat meat. Suddenly, a woman burst into tears. I cannot stand it anymore. After a busy day, everyone thought they could break through Zhang Yi's house easily. But the final result made them despair. With so many people dead, not even a crack was broken in the walls and floor-to-ceiling windows of Zhang Yi's house. She suddenly ran in front of people and climbed onto the balcony of Zhang Yi's house. When Zhang Yi thought that the next group of people would come to smash the glass again, she suddenly knelt down in front of the glass with a loud plop. Zhang Yi, I'm about to starve to death. Please help me. Even just give me a piece of bread. Not only was she alone, but people came running over one after another, kowtowed to Zhang Yi, and begged Zhang Yi to give them a bite of food, crying bitterly. The tragedy really made those who heard it sad, and those who saw it wept. Most of the kowtows were women, trying to win Zhang Yi's sympathy. Chapter 60. There was continuous pleading and crying outside the window, and the heads of their kowtows were bleeding, which was extremely miserable. Zhang Yi sighed, walked to the window and said, "Don't be like this, everyone. I feel uncomfortable looking at it." As he spoke, he held up the steaming noodles in his hand. "As soon as I feel uncomfortable, I want to eat." Suck it. Zhang Yi gulped down the noodles, making his neighbors salivate, not to mention how greedy he was. When everyone heard this, they cried louder and kowtowed harder. "Zhang Yi, we were wrong. We just want to live. Just give us some food and let us live like dogs." What do you want us to do in the future? Can we all listen to you? Zhang Yi lowered his head and continued to eat noodles. What a blessing it is to be able to eat noodles in big mouthfuls when people are hungry. After eating half a bowl of noodles, he casually put the rest in front of the French window. Right in front of these neighbors, separated by a window, they can see but cannot eat. Everyone is like a dog, sticking their entire faces to the glass, as if they can eat noodles in this way. Don't blame me for not giving you a chance. Any of you go over now, and bring me Chen Zhenghao's head. I will take care of this kind of noodles for a week, and he will be full after every meal. Of course Zhang Yi couldn't pity these people. But it's also annoying that they smash the walls and knock out the windows every day here. Therefore, it is better to let them dog eat dog and kill each other. That's the most interesting thing. When Zhang Yi said this, he sent it to the group at the same time, and told everyone in the building. The neighbor in front of the glass window had a hesitant expression on his face when he heard this. Chen Zhenghao has a gun in his hand, and if he wants his head, maybe his own will be gone. However, since it was difficult for them to deal with Chen Zhenghao, could they be able to deal with Zhang Yi? 30 or 40 corpses were placed around Zhang Yi's house. Facts have proved that Zhang Yi is much more difficult to deal with than Chen Zhenghao. At this time, Chen Zhenghao was watching the changes here from the balcony next door. He didn't hear what Zhang Yi said, but frowned, thinking about how to act next. 2 of his men also died this time. If you want to continue to control the entire building, you must replenish your own manpower. While thinking, Chen Zhenghao suddenly felt like a needle pricking his back, which made his hair stand on end. He turned his head sharply and raised the gun in his hand, only to find that everyone looked at him strangely. What do you want to do? After seeing the gun, everyone felt a little apprehensive and immediately backed away. Get out of here. Chen Zhenghao roared angrily. The big guy still looked at him strangely, even a little weirdly. It's not like looking at a person, it's like looking at food. Chen Zhenghao was terrified and hurriedly left here with a few of his subordinates. Wait, what about Zhang Yi's family? Sun Zichao asked from the side. Chen Zhenghao scolded angrily. Fuck, you can't get in the attack, what else can you do? Let's think of a way later. After speaking, he cursed and left. In front of the windows of Zhang Yi's house, those who kowtowed and begged for mercy, and those who wanted to smash the windows. These two groups couldn't bear the cold and snowy wind and snow, and left one after another. Zhang Yi was lying in the warm house, waiting for a good show. After all, after this time, the unit building lost about 40 people. Moreover, almost everyone participated in the invasion of his home, and their physical strength was exhausted. This makes the supplies even more scarce, and the battle between people becomes terrifying. Soon, Zhang Yi received private messages from many people. After this battle, the neighbors also completely confessed. Their meager physical strength was almost exhausted, and they could no longer attack Zhang Yi's family on a large scale. And facing Zhang Yi's family's defense without dead ends, they also gave up. As a result, many people began to cry and beg Zhang Yi to take pity on them, or offered to exchange benefits. For example, rich second-generation Zhu Hao. He took pictures of his girlfriend's whole body and said to Zhang Yi, I can give you my woman to play with. I just ask you to give me something to eat. She is a famous car model in Qianhe City. Look at the headlights, the rear wing, and those 2 long legs alone are enough for you to play for a year. Zhang Yi naturally recognized the model, and Zhu Hao bought a house here, just to take care of her. On weekdays, she always dresses coquettishly, like a coquettish fox, exuding temptation all the time. In the past, she didn't even bother to take a second look at the men around her. Facing Zhang Yi, she always had a haughty face. But now, Zhu Hao is planning to sell her just for a few meals. And this woman is much emaciated now, and seems very happy to be exchanged. At the very least, she knew that Zhang Yi's family had a lot to eat, so she worked very hard during the shooting. What a bitch. Zhang Yi scolded. I have to say that this female model has a very good figure. It can compete with imported cars, and it must be very good to drive. However, it is impossible for Zhang Yi to let such a shameless bitch in. Maybe while she was asleep, she stabbed herself and occupied her home. For a woman who can sell her body for money, where is the moral bottom line? Zhang Yi disdainfully watched her video 5 times and then closed the chat box contemptuously. There are other conversations below. Men contact him less. After all, they don't have the capital to exchange food with Zhang Yi. Only Uncle Yu happily congratulated Zhang Yi for repelling the enemy. But women look for him more. For example, Fang Yuking said excitedly, "Brother Zhang Yi, you are amazing. I knew you would be fine. King, I can't get away now. They are too hateful. They have kept me locked at home. Don't worry, Kinga will definitely go to find you." Zhang Yi sneered and ignored it. Zhao Ke also sent a congratulatory message in a cold tone, but Zhang Yi knew that was her character. It gets dark soon, and now it gets dark around 5 o'clock every day, and the days are short and the nights are long. At night, the temperature will drop by about 10 degrees. On the TV, the few remaining official TV stations are still broadcasting programs. Under the vigorous support of the government, the snow disaster situation in our country has been effectively alleviated. Everything is moving in a stable and positive direction. According to statistics, the death toll due to the snow disaster in Qianhe City yesterday was 1. Zhang Yi felt that the current news was much more amusing than the skits. But he was also curious, where did these TV stations move to, and how to keep it running? While listening to the nonsensical news, Zhang Yi flipped through the chat records. Zhang Yi found it very interesting to read the messages of neighbors scolding, begging, and begging for mercy. Those who scolded him were basically dead people at home. Zhang Yi is in a good mood, and will give them blessings. Congratulations to those of you who have died in your family. You can barbecue for funerals, and the ashes can be mixed with rice. After all, there were more than a dozen people who were burned to death, so they saved their cooking. Zhang Yi teased them jokingly, making those people scold even more. But suddenly, he noticed movement on the balcony. Zhang Yi walked to the window curiously. There was plenty of light outside, because of the heavy snow. Then he saw that someone came to secretly carry those corpses. To be precise, those corpses that had been charred. These people wrapped themselves tightly, and when they found Zhang Yi looking at them, they were shocked. "Zhang Yi, we are not here to mess with you, don't get me wrong. We are just here to carry the corpse." When these people spoke, their vocal cords trembled a little, and they were too guilty to look at Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi raised the corners of his mouth slightly. "Oh, moving the corpse? Are you their family? And if you bury it, just throw it down. Could it be that you will still pile up a grave at home?" These people were asked by Zhang Yi and didn't know how to answer. Anyway, you won't need these corpses, so leave us alone." They bit the bullet and dragged the corpse away quickly. Zhang Yi waved his hand to the glass. "Have fun eating." Chapter 61. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 62. Live broadcasting. A feast for the neighbors. Open the door. Open the door. "I'm Chen Zheng Heyo. I'm changing a house with you. Open the door quickly, or I'll shoot you." In the room, the young couple embraced each other in horror. "What should we do? They're here to rob our house. I'm afraid we won't even be able to keep our last bit of food." The wife looked at her young husband in despair. The husband is a clerk who wears glasses. Holding his wife in his arms, he comforted him. "Don't be afraid, it's okay. If they want a house, we'll give it to him. By the way, quickly hide the rest of the food on your body." The two hid the little food left at home in their clothes, then opened the door tremblingly. Seeing the vicious Chen Zhenghao and others outside, the man swallowed his saliva, bowed and said, "Brother Hao, this house will be yours from now on. We'll leave right away." With that said, he was about to leave with his wife. Before they could take 2 steps, one of Chen Zhenghao's younger brothers sneered "Hey," and then raised the steel pipe in his hand. Boom. After a muffled sound, the man's eyes went dark, and he fell to the ground. After passing out, his eyes were filled with disbelief. He didn't understand. He was obedient and gave up the house. But why did the other party still do it? The woman watched her husband fall to the ground in horror, and the blood flowed on the ground and quickly turned black. What? She covered her mouth and let out a scream. Another stick fell on her head as well. The two little Karamis came over and didn't talk nonsense. They just hit them on the head with one stick after another. Zalkea tightly covered her mouth. She was completely frightened. This was the first time she saw a murder, and no matter how strong her mental quality was, she couldn't maintain her composure. Chen Zhenghao just glanced at her and said with a sneer, "It's too cold. You have to store some food in case you don't have anything to eat." After killing many people, he has completely lost his reverence for life. And there was one thing that Chen Zhenghao didn't want to admit. That is, after being offered a reward by Zhang Yi and being attacked by others, he also felt a sense of fear in his heart. So he had to use a more bloody way to suppress the owners of all levels and make them surrender. Zhao Ken suppressed her nausea and didn't speak. Chen Zhenghao walked into the room carelessly and asked his younger brother to deal with the two of them. In the next few days, Zhang Yi could always hear a tinkling sound. The sound came from the next door, and he knew that it was Chen Zhenghao and others who were looking for a leak in his room. Moreover, those people were in shifts monitoring the front door and rear window of Zhang Yi's house. Chen Zhenghao thought that Zhang Yi would at least come out to throw garbage or fetch snow water. As long as he seizes a chance and kills Zhang Yi, he can take away everything that belongs to him. But he didn't expect that there was a huge alien space in Zhang Yi's hands, and the water source was not a problem at all. However, it is really inconvenient for Zhang Yi to open the window to throw out the trash. Chen Zhenghao has a gun in his hand. He will not take such a risk. However, for an otaku, having a lot of rubbish in the house is nothing to worry about. When he is bored, he plays games or watches movies and TV series he downloaded in advance. In the owner group, there are still endless pleas for him every day. Accompanied by it, there is also the frenzied cursing that cannot be fulfilled. Zhang Yi, you are an inhuman bastard. You can obviously let the big guys live longer. Why are you so selfish? You are doomed to be alone forever. Don't you have a heart? If you don't help us, you will live in guilt and remorse for the rest of your life. Facing the scolding of neighbors, Zhang Yi's approach is also very simple. He simply broadcast his meals live in the group, recorded his life, and sent them to watch. Hi everyone, family members, today I will make a braised pork dish for you. After finishing speaking, a piece of pork belly weighing at least 10 kgs was thrown onto the chopping board. The neighbors in the group were red-eyed. What kind of braised pork can use so much pork belly? Don't waste it. If you can't finish it, give it to me. Give it to me. Zhang Yi, you are not a human. You are a beast. You are not worthy to eat that piece of pork belly. Zhang Yi, I haven't eaten greasy meat for a week. Please let me eat a piece of pork skin. Just let me take a sip of the oil. You don't want that, right? Give it to me, please. Extremely hungry people have no resistance to this high-fat food. Zhang Yi clicked the operation, and the neighbors seemed to be able to smell the aroma of braised pork through the screen. But after doing it for a while, Zhang Yi frowned. He picked up a piece of pork belly, tasted it, and then spit it into the trash can. Too much soy sauce. Wipe it, and this pot of meat will be useless. Although Zhang Yi usually cooks, he always cooks big dishes. As a result, the taste of this pot of meat was substandard. How can you eat this thing? Hey, waste, waste, waste. Zhang Yi shook his head while dumping the whole pot of pork into the trash can. The group exploded in an instant, and all the neighbors went crazy. Don't throw it, don't throw it. My mouth is a trash can, and the trash can is here. Sin, why are you throwing it away? Why? Hurry up and throw away the garbage in your house. I will pick it up right away. Master, the old slave is late. Do you still need a dog? The kind that helps you dispose of the garbage. Some people were so angry by Zhang Yi's actions that they almost lost their breath on the spot. Their hearts are bleeding. It was freezing cold, the gas at home was cut off, and there was no way to cook. Wanting to eat a hot bite has become a huge luxury. Not to mention braised pork, they were reluctant to eat that stuff in their dreams. As for Zhang Yi, he dumped the whole pot without thrift. Damn it. I'd better eat something ready-made. As soon as Zhang Yi turned the camera, more than a dozen big dishes appeared on the clean and tidy table at home. The warm yellow shade lamp illuminates the table, making the food look more delicious. Zhang Yi pointed at each dish and enthusiastically introduced it. Look, my dinner tonight is braised prawns in oil, sea cucumber with scallions, yipin tofu, sweet and sour yellow river carp, giazzo and large intestine, fried fish fillets, sweet and sour pork tenderloin, mullet egg soup and shredded yam. Boys, the dishes are ready, let's eat. Zhang Yi put his phone up, like a gourmet anchor, picked up his chopsticks and started eating. The news of the neighbors in the group is going crazy. Zhang Yi, give me a bite. I kowtow to you. Zhang Yi, give my child a bite of fish, even the tail. Zhang Yi, you are my father and I'm your son, just let me drink some soup. All kinds of praying voices can be heard endlessly, and some people are frantically calling Zhang Yi's phone. Zhang Yi didn't care about them, so he ate there happily. Seeing the distraught looks of these neighbors, Zhang Yi felt that the meal was even more delicious. Chapter 63 Infection. Zhang Yi's way of showing off his wealth made the owners of the entire apartment building bleed. The swill poured in Zhang Yi's house now is a peerless delicacy to them. But that's all. Zhang Yi won't give it to them. The home of Sun Zichao and others. Due to the failure of attacking Zhang Yi's house last time, their wish to obtain antibiotics also failed. After only 2 days, the sequelae appeared. The 3 injured people felt extremely itchy wounds. Around the bandage, the blood started to turn weird, showing an abnormal yellow color. Sun Zichao couldn't help tearing off the gauze, wanting to check what happened. As a result, he saw that the wound had begun to suppurate. A stench that makes people want to vomit hits the face, like a rotten animal carcass. No, 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 no. Don't do this. I don't want to die yet. Sun Zichao was so frightened that he burst into tears, running down his nose and tears. Seeing this scene, Zhao Peng and Zhejialian lost their souls. They lifted the gauze from their wounds, praying that they would not be infected. It is a pity that the ideal is beautiful, but the reality is cruel. If it's just a scrape, there might be a chance to heal itself. However, all they suffered were penetrating wounds, and the rusty crossbow bolts penetrated deep into their flesh. Injuries coupled with bacterial infection, as well as the inability to get adequate nutrition and medicine, made it inevitable that the wound would deteriorate. Several people screamed like crazy. In the room, Fang Yuqing shivered. She took her mobile phone and sent a message to Zhang Yi. Brother Zhang Yi, they are all crazy. Kinga is so scared. Can you come and save Kinga? Kinga must be obedient after passing by. Kinga can do whatever you ask Kinga to do. After a while, Zhang Yi's reply came. Kinga, my brother's heart aches when you look like this. But I can't go out, and Chen Zhenghao is next door to me. Or come here. But be careful on the road, don't be hit by them. My neighbors next door were killed by them yesterday. You may be targeted by them, because you are skinny and tender. Zhang Yi over there was full of jokes. Facing Fang Yuqing, the White Lotus, he had only one thought in his heart, which was to torture her by all means and let her die in pain and despair. Sure enough, Fang Yuqing was troubled when she heard that Chen Zhenghao was next door to Zhang Yi. Chen Zhenghao had killed too many people, so she didn't have the guts to take risks. Brother Zhang Yi, Kinga is scared. Can you come pick me up? Don't you have a weapon? Zhang Yi cursed secretly in his heart. Smelly bastard, I really gave you a face, and you still want me to pick you up. I wanted to do the same, but I was scared by them a few days ago, and I felt a little uncomfortable. Let's just put it this way, I'm a little sleepy. Bye. Fang Yuqing's face turned pale when she heard the screams outside the door, but when she sent a message to Zhang Yi again, Zhang Yi didn't care about her anymore. In the next few days, Zhang Yi's life was still rich and leisurely. Now I don't need to go to work, I can sleep when I want, and wake up when I want. There is no need to run around for life, let alone look at anyone's face. If anyone dared to make him unhappy, he would just scold him back. It's a wonderful day. Chen Zhenghao next door thinks about how to kill him and steal his house every day. But for several days, Zhang Yi was not seen coming out. As long as Zhang Yi doesn't come out, he has no chance to deal with Zhang Yi. On the contrary, it was himself who was in fear every day because of the reward offered by Zhang Yi. He didn't even dare to trust the little brother beside him, and he held a gun in his hand when he slept. Soon, his nerves began to fail. After thinking hard, Chen Zhenghao finally figured out what to do next. Zhang Yi has been monitoring the situation of the entire building through surveillance, and he will see anyone who appears in the corridor. In the past few days, he found that Chen Zhenghao seemed to be planning something. One after another, people began to enter Chen Zhenghao's home. These people are all young and strong young people, and they all live alone. Some people came here voluntarily, while some were held by guns by Chen Zhenghao and forced them to come here. Slowly, the team under Chen Zhenghao expanded to 10, even more than before. Zhang Yi understood. He was scared, so he tried to attract a group of people to come here, so as to avoid being killed by others, and come to me to claim the reward. But in Zhang Yi's view, this approach is nothing more than drinking poison to quench thirst. More than 40 residents in the building were killed by Zhang Yi, and now the remaining population is about 70 people. According to predictions from previous lives, the supplies of most families have basically bottomed out, then the next ration is people. Chen Zhenghao has recruited a group of younger brothers and will soon start massacring others. However, this also meant that Chen Zhenghao needed to provide rations for 10 people. In this way, even if it is killing each other, it will definitely not be able to last for too long. What's more, now everyone has their own ghosts. Chen Zhenghao, a cripple, barely maintains his power with a gun. But his gun probably had few bullets left. Zhang Yi sent a message to Zalkera, asking her about the situation at Chen Zhenghao's place. It took a long time for Zalkera to reply to Zhang Yi's message. Chen Zhenghao and the others have gone crazy. Now that all the food has been eaten, they have started to eat people. I haven't eaten anything for 2 days, and I feel like I'm starving to death. Zhang Yi was not surprised by this. If one day he is about to starve to death, and can only survive by eating people, he will probably choose to die rather than eat. Of course, now that Zhang Yi eats and drinks well every day, he will naturally have this idea. If one day he also came to the desperate situation of food shortage, he didn't know what he would do. Zalkera continued to say to Zhang Yi, these days they go out to find people every day. As long as they find someone's house, they will attack and kill them. Everyone has no supplies. It's ridiculous to say. The dozens of people you killed at the beginning have allowed many people to live longer. However, they also encountered resistance. Those who are still alive have been grouped together, and they have also suffered casualties. After a long time, Zalkera sent another sentence. Zhang Yi, can you still save me? Seeing these words, Zhang Yi felt the humbleness of this aloof female doctor. She doesn't seem to have much hope for Zhang Yi. After all, at a time like this, everyone is precarious. How can they have the ability to take care of other people's lives? Zhang Yi thought for a long time and finally made a decision. Zalkera, this woman is still useful for him to keep. He can't just let her die like this. It is not easy to find a doctor who is the chief surgeon in a tertiary hospital, and he is such a well-known doctor. You do one thing for me. After it is done, I can let you live. Chapter 64. Zhang Yi can accept Zalkera, but she must submit a nomination certificate. Zhang Yi's request is very simple, effective, and non-threatening. The key is not to be a virgin. Zhang Yi is sure of the first 2 points. But he wanted to know if Zalkera could be ruthless at a critical moment. So, he gave Zalkera a task. Zalkera did not reply to Zhang Yi for the time being. Obviously she was also struggling. Zhang Yi is not in a hurry. Anyway, time is on his side. If Zalkera can't pass this test, then Zhang Yi will give up on her decisively. After all, Zhang Yi is also considered healthy, and the probability of sudden illness is very low. He will not go out casually, and the risk of injury is extremely low. But how long Zalkera can live is hard to say. The next day, Zhang Yi slept until 10 o'clock in the morning before getting up. He lifted the velvet quilt and went to the bathroom to wash up. Then he changed into his gym clothes and started working out on the treadmill. In the last days, good physical fitness is very important. Only by having a strong body can we better cope with danger and avoid getting sick. He sweated profusely on the treadmill and ran for an hour before stopping. Then went to take a hot shower. When taking a bath, Zhang Yi will feel a sense of pride. You know, this kind of enjoyment is an incomparable luxury for many people nowadays. Bang, bang, bang. At this moment, there was a loud noise outside. Zhang Yi's eyes narrowed, and he quickly wrapped himself in a towel and walked out. He soon heard a burst of yelling and cursing from Xiaopeng. Zhang Yi turned on the monitor and saw Xiaopeng outside the door holding 2 kitchen knives, slashing at his door frantically. Zhang Yi, get out of here. You only know how to hide in the house all day long. You are a coward, useless waste. The corner of Zhang Yi's mouth twitched. Ah, yes, you are right. And then, it's so ridiculous, a trash who can't survive and still wants to use aggressive methods against Zhang Yi. It seems that you are more anxious now, right? Zhang Yi noticed that when Xiaopeng slammed on the door, he used his left hand to exert strength, and it was very difficult to lift his right hand. He knew that Xiaopeng's arm was infected. If you look closely, you can even see his arms bulging high. Zhang Yi came to the door, put his hands in his pockets, and said lightly, Xiaopeng, does the infection feel uncomfortable? When I was in biology class, the teacher told us about wound infection. After the tetanus bacillus on the rust enters your wound, it is like a maggot encountering a carrion, and it begins to multiply like crazy. Your arm wound must be at least 10 centimeters deep. The temperature outside is very cold, but your flesh and blood are hot. Bacteria are desperately multiplying on that hotbed, eating your flesh and blood. Then the wound began to suppurate, black water flowed, more and more bacteria, and your wound became bigger and bigger. Finally, it ran along your blood vessels, and ran into your whole body. Zhang Yi described it vividly. After Xiaopeng heard it, he felt his arm hurt even more. He was sweating coldly, as if he felt that he was covered in germs, and wanted to eat him clean. Even though he knew that Zhang Yi was deliberately scaring him, the fear in his heart could not be suppressed. Zhang Yi, I killed you. Xiaopeng was already crazy. His arm was indeed rotten, and he knew he would die. So he wanted to try one last time, but this time he came here. It was doomed to be in vain. In the next room, Chen Zhenghao's subordinates heard Xiaopeng's crazy roar and asked, do you want to kill him? Chen Zhenghao thought for a while, and said, I heard that he was infected and dying. Do you dare to eat pork that died of illness? Everyone looked at each other, and finally decided not to take the risk. Xiaopeng chopped down the door for a while, and scolded for a while. Finally, he was tired and collapsed in front of Zhang Yi's house, and began to cry again, and begged Zhang Yi to spare his life. Zhang Yi said quietly, you are dead, your wounds are rotted, and you are at an advanced stage, and you can't be saved. It's better to do things you didn't dare to do when you were alive. Xiaopeng's eyes were full of tears, and after hearing Zhang Yi's words, he fell into deeper despair. Could it be that he is going to die? Fear enveloped him like an abyss. But what followed was anger, unbridled anger. I'm going to die, what's there to be afraid of? He struggled to get up, and kicked Zhang Yi's iron door hard. He wanted to curse, but because the door was too hard, he almost fainted from the pain. Xiaopeng didn't care about these anymore. He staggered and ran back along the stairs. After returning to the place where he lived, his eyes were slack, and he vaguely saw Sun Zichao burning a knife with a candle, and then scalding his wound. Stab. The sound of fat burning was accompanied by green smoke, and Sun Zichao's pupils protruded. Even though he was biting the quilt, he still wailed in pain. He seemed to think that this would kill all the bacteria. Ignorant and pathetic. Cousin. Wang Minimum looked at Xiaopeng distressedly, not knowing how to comfort him. She knew that Xiaopeng would not live long, and now the room could smell the rancid smell of several people every day. The body rots before the person dies. The depth of this pain is unimaginable to ordinary people. Xiaopeng ignored Wang Minimum, but rushed to the room where Fang Yuqing was detained. Fang Yuqing screamed in fright when she saw Xiaopeng. Xiaopeng, what are you doing? Xiaopeng walked up to Fang Yuqing, staring at her with bloodshot eyes. Yuqing, will you marry me? This poor licking dog, even though his life is coming to an end, his biggest wish is to marry Fang Yuqing. In the last days, how ridiculous this request is, but how humble it is. Fang Yuqing frowned, her eyes filled with disgust. She pinched her nose subconsciously. No, I don't want to. Xiaopeng's heart was broken. He had sacrificed so much for Fang Yuqing. Even his own life was about to be lost. But Fang Yuqing, from the beginning to the end, never had the slightest affection for him. No, you love me, you love me. I want to get you, and before I die, I want you to be my woman. Zhao Peng roared angrily and then began to tear Fang Yuking's clothes. People outside the house heard the voice inside, but no one cared. In their view, Fang Yuking was the chief culprit that brought them down to where they are today. She deserves to die. Fang Yuking struggled desperately, but how could the crazy Zhao Peng have as much strength? Zhao Peng tore off the down jacket on her body and then couldn't wait to take off his own clothes. No, you go away, you smell so disgusting. Fang Yuking cursed. You dare to call me stinky? Zhao Peng was so angry that he suddenly tore off the gauze on his arm. At this time, his wound bulged up, turned black and purple, and the wound festered terribly. He made a penetrating movement, even grabbed the rotten wound with his hands, and stuffed the rotten meat into Fang Yuking's mouth. Let you scold me, let you scold me. Fang Yuking was so disgusted that she couldn't help retching, but Zhao Peng still stuffed a hand of rotten meat into her mouth. Zhao Peng grinned grimly, seeing his goddess being humiliated by him. He suddenly felt an unprecedented pleasure. Chapter 65 Broth. Zhao Peng tore off Fang Yuking's clothes and wanted to have an in-depth exchange despite the temperature in the room being more than -60 degrees. Fang Yuking was powerless to resist and lay there with her eyes blank. But when Zhao Peng took off his pants, he discovered a cruel fact. He couldn't look up at all. Just kidding. Not to mention the ultra low temperature of -60 or 70 degrees, his physical fitness is also extremely poor. It's useless to give him a chance. Get up for me. Zhao Peng anxiously tried many methods, but none of them worked. He seemed to have lost consciousness there. Seeing this, Fang Yuking sneered and mocked. You are really useless. What? Zhao Peng's desperate roar echoed in the room, resembling a teddy with a lychee gnawed on it. After a night of deep thinking, Zhao Ke finally gave Zhang Yi an affirmative answer. She knew that this was Zhang Yi's test for her. Although it was very dangerous, if she didn't do this, she would definitely die in the hands of Chen Zhenghao and others in a short time. She has to fight once. That night, Chen Zhenghao and others sat in the living room and then asked a younger brother to cook in the kitchen. Zhao Ke stared at them from the corner, then suddenly stood up and said, I'll help him. Chen Zhenghao's eyes looked at her coldly, and his smile was a bit creepy. Ha ha ha, I knew you couldn't bear it. Zhao Ke froze all over, her blood was about to freeze. Chen Zhenghao continued, if I haven't eaten for 2 days, I can't bear it personally. Don't be afraid, as long as you taste it once, you will be addicted. The taste of that meat is very delicious, better than any meat I have eaten in the past. Zhao Ke breathed a sigh of relief, bit her lip and said, I don't want to die, I want to live. Chen Zhenghao thought that Zhao Ke had figured it out, nodded and said, that's the best. You are still of some use to me now. Originally, I planned to use you as an ingredient, if you really don't want to eat meat. Zhao Ke took a deep breath, silently turned around, and went to help in the kitchen. The kitchen was full of splattered blood and some untreated stumps. It was like hell. Even if Zhao Ke's nose was blocked, he could still smell the stench soaring to the sky. She suppressed the discomfort in her heart and walked over to help the little brother who was cooking. The younger brother looked numb, didn't say anything, just pointed to the axe and the broken furniture next to him and asked her to chop wood and make a fire. Zhao Ke obediently complied. Nowadays, energy is scarce and cooking can only be done by burning furniture to make a fire. In the kitchen, a simple stove was set up temporarily with an iron pot on it. After the fire started, the snow inside began to melt slowly and turned into water. However, the snow water is not clear. After melting, it is extremely cloudy and there are some impurities in it. But now it is good to have a bite to eat and no one pays attention to it. Zhao Ke has been staring at the little brother while observing the movement outside the kitchen. Her palms were gradually covered with sweat because if the next move was discovered, she would definitely die. After a while, the little boy chopped the meat, threw it into the pot, and poured some seasonings into it. Look. The little brother left the kitchen coldly and left. Zhao Ke waited for a long time, and after confirming that it was safe, he reached out and took out a small bottle from his pocket. Then he unscrewed the bottle cap in a panic and poured a pile of white medicinal powder into the soup. After doing this, she hurriedly stuffed the medicine bottle back into her pocket. At this moment, she felt her heart beating as fast as a single-cylinder engine, and her legs were shaking because of being too tense. She swallowed hard, picked up the spoon, and stirred the powder in the pot. Although the whole process was thrilling, there were no accidents. This is not making a movie. There are not so many twists and turns. Due to the harsh living environment, everyone has become numb. They never imagined that Zalkea would add medicine to the broth. When eating at noon, Zalkea brought a large pot of broth to the table, and they immediately got red-eyed and eagerly came over to grab the meat and eat it. In order to cheat their trust, Zalkea also filled a bowl of soup and went back to the house silently. No one cares about her. Everyone just wants to eat hot food for themselves now. Hot food is equal to life. Every bite you eat gives you more hope of surviving. After Zalkea returned to the room, she sat on the bed with broth in her hand. Then she began to wait silently. What she put in the pot was sleeping pills. Half a bottle full. This sleeping pill works quickly, and after taking one pill, it can make people fall asleep in 30 minutes. Especially after eating, the blood gathers towards the stomach, and people are prone to sleepiness. With such a large amount, even an elephant would have to fall asleep after eating it. As a doctor, Zalkea was well aware of the extent to which this dose would make them drowsy. Unless it is particularly violently stimulated, it is impossible to wake up for a short time. So it didn't take long for Zalkea to hear their snoring one after another coming from the living room. Zalkea came to the living room cautiously and saw that everyone was lying on the sofa and chairs and fell asleep. Holding her breath, she sent a message to Zhang Yi. I gave them a lot of sleeping pills and they all fell asleep. What are you going to do next? Across the wall is Zhang Yi's residence. He has been waiting for news from Zalkea to confirm whether she can complete the task. Only when she proves that she has enough value will she become a pawn in Zhang Yi's hands. After seeing the news, Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows and said to her, drag them to the balcony. He won't pass by, lest this is a game set up by the other party. Zalkea bit her lip and finally said, okay. An ordinary person would definitely be scared to death, because if Chen Zhenghao and the others suddenly woke up at this time, they would definitely kill her. However, as a professional doctor, Zalkea was very sure about the efficacy of the medicine. According to Zhang Yi's request, she dragged Chen Zhenghao and others out one by one and threw them on the balcony. Even if it is cold and windy outside, they still won't wake up in a short time, which is the case for people who have fallen into a deep coma. On the contrary, because of the cold weather, the body will automatically choose to lower its body temperature and prolong life by dormancy. Standing in front of the window, Zhang Yi could clearly see what Zalkea did. Zhang Yi knew how many people Chen Zhenghao had under his command. Through surveillance, nothing could escape his gaze. He nodded in satisfaction when he saw that Zalkea was panting and dragged all those people out. Next, what do you want me to do? Zalkea asked in a trembling voice. Okay, just wait for me for a while. Zhang Yi put down his phone, turned and went back to the bedroom. After thinking about it for a while, he took out a thick winter suit from the different space and put it on. He took out 10 hemp ropes as thick as a child's arm and hung them around his waist. He holds a wound crossbow in his left hand and a machete on his back. Zhang Yi thought about it and felt that it was still not safe enough. He opened the safety of the pistol that he had never had a chance to use since he bought it back and held it in his hand. After doing this, I felt a sense of security in my heart. Zhang Yi came to the floor-to-ceiling window. After the apocalypse, for the first time, he reached out to unlock the door lock of the floor-to-ceiling window. This process is very complicated. There are 3 layers of door locks: fingerprint, electronic and physical locks. After unlocking the lock, Zhang Yi came to the balcony. The biting cold wind blows over, and the feeling is not particularly deep through the winter clothes. Zhang Yi couldn't help sighing that professional level cold-proof clothing is a cow. Zalkea folded her arms by the window, looking at him tremblingly. Are you going to kill them? The corner of Zhang Yi's mouth twitched, and he raised the gun in his hand to aim at the villains on the ground, and faintly aimed at Zalkea. He casually threw those ropes at Zalkea's feet. It's not me, it's you. Chapter 66. Zhang Yi stood on the balcony, but his body was leaning against the window. As long as the situation was not right, he could return to the room at any time. Chen Zhenghao and his younger brother were both on the balcony next door, looking fainted. But Zhang Yi couldn't be sure that they really passed out. What if this is a trick they set up together with Zhang Yi to lure themselves into the bait? It is possible that, as soon as he passed by, the people on the other side would get up and kill him. Moreover, there is still a distance of more than 10 centimeters between the two balconies. The fence made of stainless steel is particularly slippery in heavy snow. If he climbed by himself, Zhang Yi could make him fall from the 24th floor just by pushing him, and so Zhang Yi pointed at Chen Zhenghao and others on the ground with the gun in his hand. Use these ropes to tie their hands behind their backs. In addition, I remember that Chen Zhenghao has a gun on his body, so he also gave it to me. Zhang Yi had a speechless expression on his face. At this time, she hadn't eaten for 2 days, only drank a little water, and dragged 10 people to the balcony, and she had no strength at all. Seeing that Zhang Yi was so cautious that she didn't even want to come over to help, she bit her chapped lips and said angrily, "You are too careful. Be careful sailing for thousands of years. I won't let myself take a little risk," Zhang Yi said lightly. Zhang Yi had no choice but to follow Zhang Yi's instructions. When he was under Zhang Yi's gun, she picked up the rope and tied those people's hands tightly from behind. When she took out the pistol from Chen Zhenghao's pocket, Zhang Yi pointed the gun at her head. "Remove the magazine from the gun and throw it at me." Zhang Yi looked at Zhang Yi, bit her lip suddenly, and asked, "How can I trust you? What if you turn your face and deny anyone after I've done all this?" But Zhang Yi said, "You have no other option but to trust me now. Only by trusting me can you survive in this harsh environment." Zhang Yi thought for a moment, and she also knew that she had no other choice but to trust Zhang Yi. She couldn't break her moral bottom line to eat people, so she was doomed to starve to death. Following Zhang Yi's instructions, Zhang Yi removed the magazine from the pistol and threw it at Zhang Yi's feet. Zhang Yi glanced at it from the corner of his eye and confirmed that it was indeed Chen Zhenghao's gun, and then said to Zhang Yi, "Go back to the house first." Zhang Yi cautiously returned to the room. She was also very nervous at this time, because if Chen Zhenghao and the others wake up, Zhang Yi can go back to the room, but she will definitely die. However, as Zhang Yi said, she had no choice. After Zhang Yi returned to the room, Zhang Yi did not rush across the balcony. He picked up Chen Zhenghao's gun on the ground. I glanced at the magazine, and there were 3 bullets in it. Zhang Yi threw the gun into the different space, then returned to the room, and took out a water pipe from the bathroom. Then he rushed towards the dozen or so people on the balcony. The reason why he didn't shoot was to save bullets, and second, he didn't want others to hear the movement and cause unnecessary trouble. Crash! Splashes of water gushed out from the water pipe and landed on Chen Zhenghao and the others at a distance of 3 to 4 meters. From the indoor temperature of more than 20 degrees to the outdoor temperature of minus 70 degrees, the temperature difference is close to degrees. This makes the originally warm water column still steaming when it sprays out, but after it fell on them, it immediately began to freeze. Seeing this scene, Zhang Yi in the room couldn't help but hugged his arms tightly. It is indeed a very cruel thing to be frozen to death like this. At this time, due to the washing of ice water, the group of people slowly woke up. The ice water has seeped into their bodies, freezing them all over. What? A little Karami, with lips purple from the cold, let out a terrified cry. He wanted to get up, but found that his hands were tied tightly behind his back. Moreover, the ground was also covered with a thick layer of ice, making him slip continuously and unable to get up at all. Chen Zhenghao also woke up from the ice water rushing to his face. He looked astonished and then suddenly realized that he had been drugged. But now, he has no time to find out who gave the medicine. Because of the cold water constantly washing over his body, he felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave, and his whole body felt icy cold and tingling, as if 10,000 needles were pricking every pore of him. Everyone woke up, screaming in terror. But they struggled desperately, but they couldn't get up anyway, because 10 people crowded on the balcony, and they would get in each other's way. Zhang Yi. Chen Zhenghao saw Zhang Yi who was spraying them from the water pipe on the balcony next door, and let out a roar. Zhang Yi finally came out of the room, and the unbreakable window opened a gap. It's a pity that now his hands are tied, and his own life can't be saved. It's almost time for you to make a fuss. You should die, Zhang Yi said coldly. Chen Zhenghao and the others killed nearly half of the neighbors in the whole building, and they were even close to catching up with Zhang Yi. If you continue to keep him, it won't be long before you will fight Zhang Yi desperately. Although Zhang Yi is not afraid, it is best to kill him, just to be on the safe side. Zhang Yi would not joke about his wealth and life. What could be safer than a dead man? Chen Zhenghao and others struggled and roared with their last strength, but they couldn't get up anyway. Cold, icy water poured over their faces, into their mouths, into their collars. Their clothes were soaked and turned into solid blocks of ice. 2 minutes later, they lay on the ground and could no longer make a sound, but were twitching with blue and purple bodies all over their bodies. After 3 minutes, they couldn't even move because they had become 10 big ice cubes. After 5 minutes, the lump of ice became even bigger and joined together to form a solid ice. In order to save water, Zhang Yi did not continue to spray water. Frozen like this, without modern medical methods, it is impossible to survive. Zhang Yi returned to the room and locked the French windows tightly. Then he changed out of his thick winter clothes and called Zhao Ke. You passed the test, you can come here. In the next room, when Zhao Ke heard Zhang Yi's voice, she finally let go of her hanging heart. She said tremblingly, okay, I'll be there right away. She took her medicine box, opened the door as if fleeing, and left this hellish room. Zhang Yi unlocked the quadruple lock of the heavy security door, then took 2 steps back, raised his pistol with his right hand, and pointed it at the door. He turned his head and glanced at the monitor to confirm that Zhao Ke was in good condition, and then used the mobile app to unlock the last electronic door lock. You can come in. Zhao Ke outside the door heard the voice, raised her cold and pale hand, and pushed it hard. The door was very heavy, and she pushed it very hard. But when there was a gap in the door, a warm current rushed out and wrapped her up. Zhao Ke's eyes sparkled with excitement. She hadn't felt this warm feeling for too long. So she increased the strength in her hand, pushed the door open, and then stepped in. After entering the door, at this moment, she felt as if she had entered heaven. The icy feeling that covered the whole body before is rapidly disappearing at this moment. The obsessive warmth is like entering a soup bath. Slowly, she even began to feel an unbearable hot feeling. After all, she is wearing 6 layers of clothes now, and the down jacket alone is wearing 2 layers. In Zhang Yi's house, the room temperature was 27 degrees, and she couldn't bear the heat. So she didn't care about Zhang Yi's pistol aimed at her, and hurriedly took off her clothes. Chapter 67. Zhao Ke quickly took off her clothes, leaving only her pink thermal underwear. The messy clothes were thrown all over the floor, and she lay on the ground, panting heavily. The tears in her eyes showed the excitement in her heart at this time. At this time, she remembered that there was a man in front of her. Zhang Yi's gun was still aimed at Zhao Ke. Zhao Ke managed to squeeze out a smile. You are really cautious, she said, raising her hands. Look, with my appearance, it's impossible to hide any dangerous weapons, right? Zhang Yi's expression was indifferent, and he shook the gun in his hand. Go ahead and take it off. You must be completely honest with me before I can accept you. Zhang Yi is a very cautious man. Of course, only Zhang Yi knows whether there are other ideas in it. Zhao Ke bit her lips when she heard this. She lowered her head, a blush appeared on her face. Let her take off her clothes in front of a man she is not familiar with and show her naked body. She is very ashamed in her heart. But she also understands that she is not qualified to bargain now. Zhang Yi's home is too warm. Compared with the environment she lived in before, it was simply heaven. If people want to get something, they must pay an equal price, which she understands very well. Okay, I'll take it off. Zhao Ke mustered up her courage, raised her arms tremblingly, and began to take off her pink thermal underwear. Zhang Yi fixed his eyes on her to prevent her from suddenly pulling out any deadly weapon. This is entirely for safety. An honest gentleman like him would not have other ideas. However, when she lifted up her clothes to reveal her white belly, Zhang Yi felt a little itchy throat. Zhao Ke's skin is very fair, almost comparable to the snow and ice outside the window. This kind of whiteness is not something that can be changed the day after tomorrow, but a natural icy skin, which is as white and smooth as milk. Under the soft light in the room, there was even a holy halo. She slowly lifted the dress over her head, which was a black lace underwear. Zhang Yi remembered a famous saying on the internet that women in black underwear are more boring. After taking off the autumn clothes above, Zalkena stretched out her hands to her waist again. She arched her body and slowly took off the long johns. She usually does fitness, so she has a very good figure, slender and well proportioned. The place that should be fat is fat, the place that should be thin is thin, and there is no trace of fat around the waist. A casual bending action can arouse people's infinite reverie. This angle just gave Zhang Yi an excellent perspective. Zhang Yi once caught a glimpse of Zalkena's impressive size in a sweater. Unexpectedly, looking at it now, he still underestimated her figure. The amazing size is full and round, which makes people dizzy. Zalkena felt Zhang Yi's gaze, and her face blushed, as if she was about to bleed. But she still endured the shame in her heart, and continued to take off her clothes. She threw the clothes on the ground, and kicked them aside carefully with her feet, her face full of shyness. After all, she hasn't bathed for half a month, and she is very worried that she smells on her body, which makes Zhang Yi disgusted. Now, is this okay? Her pure white lotus root arms held her round body. She turned her head away because of shyness, and didn't dare to look at Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi took a deep breath, and then said righteously, "Of course, no. Who can guarantee that there are no deadly weapons hidden under those two clothes?" Zhang Yi is a gentleman. He will never take advantage of others. He just made a reasonable request out of caution. Please don't get me wrong. Zalkena's body trembled violently. After a moment of silence, she finally chose to surrender. So in front of Zhang Yi, she released her last defense. Fully display the flawless body in front of Zhang Yi. You come. She closed her eyes and said as if resigned to her fate. In the last days, reserve is worthless. She is a smart woman, already enlightened. But at this time, Zhang Yi didn't rush over like a beast. He glanced at the medicine box on the ground, and then said to Zalkena, "I suggest you take a shower first." Zalkena blushed even more. She picked up her clothes, and ran into the bathroom as if fleeing. Zhang Yi found some women's clothes from the different space, and threw them outside the bathroom for her. "There is a change of clothes here, you can wear them yourself later. In terms of underwear, I picked one according to your size, and you can try to see if it fits." Zhang Yi has been in charge of the warehouse for so long, and he has developed a good eye. He could tell at a glance that Zalkena was 30-60. Zalkena was in the bathroom, and said HMM in a low voice. Then, there was the sound of splashing water. Zhang Yi came to her medicine box, reached out and carefully opened it, and checked it carefully. It was found that there was no medicine in it, only a few rolls of gauze that were almost used up, and 2 unopened needle tubes. Zhang Yi thought for a while, picked up the needle, threw it into a different space, and closed the medicine box for her. He sat on the sofa unhurriedly, waiting for Zalkena to finish taking a shower. In the bathroom, Zalkena turned on the shower, and when hot water sprayed on her head, her excited eyes were filled with tears. People only understand what happiness is after they lose it. She didn't feel the importance of everything in daily life back then. But after the end came, she realized how precious those things were. With the development of human civilization for thousands of years, the convenient and quick products brought by them have made them more and more delicate. Since she didn't take a shower for half a month, Zalkena washed it extra carefully this time. After taking a bath for half an hour, she suddenly realized that this was Zhang Yi's house, so she speeded up the bath. After all, water resources are also very precious now. Zhang Yi didn't make any comments, nor did he urge her, because he reserves a lot of water. And even if an extreme situation occurs, there is still a lot of ice and snow outside that can be used. Human activities have pressed the pause button, and the natural snow water is very clean and even drinkable. Crack. The bathroom door opened. Zhang Yi looked over and saw a steaming lotus root protruding from the door, picking up the clothes he left outside the door. Not long after, Zalkena came out in her pajamas. The wet hair hangs loose behind her, exuding a thrilling beauty. Zhang Yi couldn't help but widen his eyes. Since he knew Zalkena, it was the first time he found that she was so beautiful. As the attending physician of the hospital, she is very busy on weekdays, so she doesn't have much time to make up or do hair. At most she just wears a little makeup. After taking a bath, Zhang Yi was really moved by her beautiful appearance like a lotus. but that's all. Zhang Yi's vigilance has always existed. All he believed in was himself. Chapter 68. Seeing that Zhang Yi was still wary of him, Zhao Ke couldn't help thinking to himself, no wonder he can live so gracefully in the last days. Sit down. Zhang Yi pointed to the sofa next to him, and the gun in his hand had been picked up at some point. Zhao Ke obediently sat on the sofa 2 meters away from Zhang Yi, putting her hands together on her knees, like a good baby. Look, I'll let you in, because you mean something to me. But you must always remember that this is my home, and it is my gift to you, that you can live in it. So, you must obey all my orders, otherwise, I will drive you out. If you do anything wrong with me, once I find out, I will kill you mercilessly. Listening to Zhang Yi's indifferent words, Zhao Ke couldn't help complaining in her heart, it's really cold-blooded. Although she knew that Zhang Yi had a reason for saying this, if Zhang Yi could speak more gently, she would be somewhat moved. She didn't know that Zhang Yi had never been gentle, but all his gentleness was fed to the dogs in the end. Zhang Yi pointed to a room again. Their house has 3 bedrooms and 1 living room. In addition to the master bedroom, where Zhang Yi lives, there are 2 secondary bedrooms. You live in that house. But as agreed in advance, every corner of the whole house is monitored. So you must be under my surveillance all the time, without any privacy. The door is also an anti-theft door. The material is only a little lighter than the door, but it cannot be opened by manpower. The key is in my hand, and you can only come out during the time period I allow. If you have any objections, Zhang Yi pointed to the door, you can leave now. Where will Zhao Ke leave? No matter how harsh Zhang Yi's conditions are, this house is a paradise compared to the cruel environment outside. She nodded. Okay, I will listen to you. Zhao Ke's submissive attitude made Zhang Yi very satisfied. As expected of a smart woman, it is convenient to communicate. If she were a little fairy like Fang Yuqing and Lin Caning, she would probably cry a lot. They deserve to die in this last days. Zhang Yi put away the gun and adjusted the position of the other gun. He looked at Zhao Ke, and his tone became a little gentler. You are very smart, so it will be convenient for us all to get along in the future. You should understand what kind of purgatory it is outside. You have no other way to survive, except to attach to me. So now, I'm going to tell you a secret, so listen carefully. Zhao Ke opened his eyes wide in surprise. Secret? Are you willing to tell me? She felt that it was definitely not that simple for someone as cautious as Zhang Yi to easily tell her the secret. Zhang Yi said, I'm telling you this secret to ensure your loyalty to me. But if you leak the secret, I'm not very afraid. After all, it's hard for everyone in this world to protect themselves, and I'm not afraid of anyone who can threaten me. He shrugged. I killed all the people who tried to kill me before, and it's not like you didn't see it. Zhao Ke nodded and looked at Zhang Yi seriously, wanting to hear what secret he was about to tell. Zhang Yi said unhurriedly, the cause of this snow disaster, I believe you have seen it on the internet. It is due to the explosion of a supernova, which caused a burst of gamma rays. This kind of radiation will have a certain impact on the human body, and may cause the human body to mutate. So, I have a superpower, which is to obtain an independent different space. Regardless of Zhao Ke's surprised eyes, Zhang Yi continued, the reason why I can live happily and unrestrainedly until now is because I store a lot of supplies in my space. Otherwise, with my house alone, you can tell that I can't store too many supplies. Therefore, I'm alive, so you can follow me to enjoy those supplies. Only then can there be food to eat, and only then can there be hot water for bathing. If I die, this house will soon become like any other house. You will still starve to death. Zhang Yi didn't fully trust Zhao Ke, even though he knew she was a kind person. He only believes in interests, not in humanity. Because human nature can be distorted, even without much effort. Only by telling Zhao Ke, you can live only if I live, and Zhao Ke will completely become his community of interests. In order to convince Zhao Ke, Zhang Yi took out a long sandwich bread from the different space on the spot, and threw it to Zhao Ke. Seeing Zhang Yi take out a piece of bread empty-handed like a juggler, Zhao Ke finally showed a touch of trust in his surprised eyes. Superpower. Does such a thing really exist? Looking at the bread in her hand, she swallowed a mouthful of saliva, and did not dare to speak, but waited for Zhang Yi's order. Such a large piece of bread, placed outside, is enough for 2 families to work hard. Not to mention she hasn't eaten for 2 days. Zhang Yi said lightly, "Eat it, it's for you." Zhao Ke couldn't bear it any longer. Seeing her eating in a hurry, Zhang Yi was afraid that she would choke, so he poured a glass of water and handed it to her. Zhao Ke ate bread with big mouthfuls, this kind of fast food that she disliked in the past, but now she was moved to tears when she ate it. God, how can a piece of bread be so delicious? Zhang Yi, on the other hand, talked softly about the rules of living here. "I don't trust you that much, so you have to be sensible. Cleaning, cooking, don't ask me to order these things. The sewer has been frozen for a long time. When going to the toilet, you need to use a special plastic bag to cover it, and then throw it out through the hidden door of the window. You will do this in the future. In other words, you will be my maid from now on. You have to rely on labor in exchange for a comfortable living environment and food. Remember? It is impossible for Zhang Yi's family to support idlers." Zhao Ke wolfed down her food and nodded repeatedly. "I understand. Master, master," she shouted shyly. Zhang Yi frowned. This little girl is quite capable. No wonder he was able to become an attending doctor at such a young age. Seeing that she was full, Zhang Yi smiled. He held his chin. His eyes fell on her snow-white neck. "Do you know why there are so many people in the whole building? You and I are not the most familiar, but I chose you?" Zhao Ke pursed her lips. "Because I'm a doctor. You don't need anything, but you can't guarantee that you won't get sick or get hurt." Zhang Yi nodded slightly. "This is one of them. Although my body is very healthy, people always have to prevent problems before they happen." He took out the remaining half bottle of red wine from under the tea table and took out 2 goblets as if by magic. He poured 2 glasses of red wine and pushed one to Zhao Ke. "Then the second point, do you know why?" Zhao Ke took the red wine, hesitated for a moment. She took a sip, and a hint of understanding appeared in her eyes. "There is never free bread in this world. Because I'm a woman, and a beautiful one at that. This woman is very self-aware." Zhao Ke put down the goblet in her hand and stood up. In front of Zhang Yi, she unbuttoned her bathrobe. Zhang Yi doesn't pretend to be a gentleman. He needs to find a place to release the depression for more than half a month. So he was released. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 69 Refreshing. This night is destined to be extremely long. After it was over, it was already the early morning of the next day. Zhao Ke lay limp on the bed, unable to move at all. Zhang Yi covered her with a quilt and she fell into a deep sleep. Zhang Yi locked the door from the outside, and he put away the only key. Business is business, and there are still basic principles. Even if Zhang Yi knew that Zhao Ke was a kind person, letting her in and living was already the utmost benevolence. In a short time, he couldn't relax his guard against her. He took a shower by himself first, and went back to the bedroom to rest. This sleep lasted for half a day. After waking up, Zhang Yi was refreshed, and his eyes were brighter than usual. Sure enough, Taoism is not deceitful, and the harmony of yin and yang is very helpful to health. This kind of beneficial exercise has to be done frequently in the future. Zhang Yi turned on the monitor and saw that Zhao Ke was still fast asleep on the bed. Zhang Yi demanded so much yesterday that she couldn't help but whip her. Zhang Yi got dressed and came to the living room. As he passed the sofa, he noticed a pool of blood on the sofa. I couldn't help but think of her painful expression last night, and I was also a little surprised. The 26-year-old female doctor is still a baby? Zhang Yi took out some food from the different space and put it on the coffee table. Then he came to Zhao Ke's door and unlocked it. Zhang Yi knocked on the door. "Come out and eat something." It's funny to say, Zhang Yi can clearly see everything in this room, but he still knocks on the door out of politeness. After all, if the two want to get along for a long time in the future, they still need basic respect. Zhao Ke's voice came softly, with a hint of fatigue. "Okay, I'll be right over." Zhang Yi came to the dining table, picked up a beef cheeseburger, and walked to the window while eating. After one night, the big ice bump next door became bigger, and the snow fell on it, and the twisted appearance of 10 corpses could be vaguely seen inside. Zhao Kai came out of the room, and when she saw Zhang Yi, her face blushed imperceptibly. As a doctor of medicine who graduated from a prestigious university, she has always been proud and arrogant, and she does not pretend to speak to men. That's why I have kept my body like a jade until now. After all, people in the upper class attach great importance to this kind of thing. But unexpectedly, she did not give the most precious thing to her husband, not even to her lover. Instead, in the last days, in exchange for survival, it was given to an unfamiliar man. But looking at Zhang Yin's long figure and indifferent and rational handsome face made her feel extra at ease. Women always have some special feelings about their first man in their hearts. Zhang Yi likes Zhao Kai very much, because she is beautiful. Which man would not love a beauty with a good figure and a pretty face? But love is absolutely out of the question now. Maybe when he completely trusted her in the future, he would also slowly pour his feelings into her. After all, a person is too tired to live in the last days, and always needs some feelings as sustenance. Zhang Yi signaled to Zhao Kai that there was food on the table. Zhao Kai looked over, and found that it was a steaming hamburger, fried chicken, and french fries. These were ordered by Zhang Yi in large quantities from fast food restaurants such as KFC and McDonald's before the end of the world. Due to the freshness preservation ability of the different space, they are still warm when taken out. Zhao Kai swallowed her saliva, couldn't help but walked over to pick up a hamburger and ate it. The fast food that she disdained to eat in the past now makes her want to cry so deliciously. In less than 10 minutes, she ate up the pile of food. Zhao Kai lay on the chair and burped comfortably. When she saw Zhang Yi's half-smile expression, she shyly covered her mouth with a look of embarrassment. Zhang Yi doesn't care about these. He asked, have you finished eating? Zhao Kai tilted her head and said seriously, I'm not full yet. But don't eat too much at one time, otherwise it will easily cause gastroenteritis. Is that finished eating? Come and work. Zhang Yi pointed his chin outside. Zhao Kai walked over obediently. Zhang Yi took out 2 sets of cold-proof clothing from the different space, and Zhao Kai's eyes widened. Although it was not the first time he saw it, he still felt it was very magical. In her heart, she also became more determined to follow Zhang Yi. Under the apocalypse, very few people can survive. Only by following powerful characters can you increase your chances of survival. Zhang Yi threw Zhao Kai a set of winter clothes for her to put on, and he put on a set himself. What are we going to do? Zhao Kai asked curiously. Zhang Yi pointed to the lump of ice on the balcony next door. Go and smash that lump of ice. Zhao Kai's body trembled. The bodies of those people have been integrated with the ice, and if the ice is smashed, their bodies will be torn apart. They must be dead. Why would they do this? Zhang Yi shrugged. Maybe it's because I simply hate them. Seeing Zhao Kai's surprised eyes, Zhang Yi smiled and said, in this building, almost everyone wants to kill me and then take away my room and supplies. I've got to do something to show them I'm not someone to mess with. The corner of his mouth twitched. In the past, they thought I was a shrinking turtle who only knew how to stay at home. Of course, I don't mind what they think of me. But after a long time, it's always a bit annoying, so it's good to let them remember it long. There was another reason why Zhang Yi didn't say anything, and he didn't bother to tell Zhao Kai. He, Zhang Yi, is a man who seeks revenge. Chen Zhenghao tried to kill him again and again. Zhang Yi was very angry. Just freezing them to death. Zhang Yi thought it was too cheap for them. Zhao Kai seemed to realize something, pointed to his nose and said, You won't let me do it again, will you? She was speechless. It seemed that from the beginning to the end, she was the only one who contributed to the death of Chen Zhenghao and others. Now that Chen Zhenghao and the others are dead, Zhang Yi is still so cowardly? Zhang Yi said seriously, this is called stability. Nonsense. What if I pass by, and you close the window? What will I do? Although Zhang Yi's supplies are all in the space, he is not worried about starving to death. But who is used to living a comfortable life, who wants to make trouble? Zhao Kai rolled her eyes. She couldn't laugh or cry. I secretly complained in my heart, how could there be such a stable person? She's not a fool. How could she do such a thing that harms others, and does not benefit herself? Regardless of that, Zhang Yi made a pleased gesture to her, and then handed her a baseball bat. Zhao Ke noticed that when Zhang Yi handed her the baseball bat, his body was obviously in a defensive state. She was so angry that she was speechless at Zhang Yi's oversteadiness. But she was not happy with her mouth, and she took the baseball bat honestly and then climbed over the fence to the balcony next door. Zhang Yi took out his mobile phone and started recording. Chapter 70 Deterrence. Zhao Ke raised the baseball bat in his hand, looked at the big ice lump made of 10 corpses in front of him, gritted his teeth, and smashed it down decisively. After all, she is a woman who has studied medicine, so her resistance to corpses is not that strong. Crack. With a sound, the ice lump shattered. Zhao Ke's hand was sore from the shock, and she dropped the baseball bat in her hand with an oops. Zhao Ke frowned slightly, rubbing his palm. It's tough. Before Zhang Yi could speak, she walked into the room, and when she came back, a big hammer appeared in her hand. It's still easy to use, she said with firm eyes. Zhang Yi was silent for a moment. He felt that he seemed to underestimate the woman in front of him. Zhao Ke raised the hammer and smashed it down hard. Since the ice layer covering the body was not too thick, it quickly shattered. Accompanied by that, the corpse inside broke apart. Zhang Yi took the mobile phone and took a video of the whole process. After Zhao Ke hit the hammer for the first time, her courage became more and more courageous, and she no longer felt afraid. After a burst of click and click, the lump of ice was already torn apart. The same was true for the corpse wrapped inside. The brittle arms and arms were broken into two very cleanly. The main part is still a bit tough, but part of the flesh and blood has been smashed. The broken place is no longer like flesh and blood, but like a pile of red and white plasticine, completely frozen solid. Zhao Ke crawled back, after fulfilling Zhang Yi's request. What's the use of recording this? Zhao Ke asked curiously, while taking off her clothes. The corners of Zhang Yi's mouth curled up slightly, and he sent it to the owner group with a smirk. Zhao Ke suddenly realized, are you trying to establish your prestige among the owners, so that they won't dare to come and harass you in the future? Zhang Yi smiled faintly. Not only that, I want to take Chen Zhengheo's place in their hearts. The neighbors fear Chen Zhengheo far more than him. Because Chen Zhengheo has a gun in his hand, and he will rush to the door to kill them and steal their supplies. But no matter how many people Zhang Yi killed, he still gave people the impression that he was a wretched guy at home who killed people by sneak attack. Zhang Yi has to take the initiative and prepare for going out of the house in the future. Bao Buki will go out one day. Zhao Ke nodded, expressing support for Zhang Yi's approach. The two were wearing underwear and sitting on the sofa. Zhao Ke leaned obediently next to Zhang Yi, with her two slender and round big white legs placed next to his legs. She also placed her head next to Zhang Yi and watched the reactions in the owner group together. Looking at the appearance of the two, they looked like a pair of lovers in love. Zhao Ke's affection for Zhang Yi comes from dependence, and she is Mukyang in a woman's nature. But for Zhang Yi, she is more of a tool person now. As for feelings or something, I will talk about it later, and he doesn't mind if he has it. But there are feelings, and not too much. Recently, the internet seems to be getting worse. Zhang Yi uploaded it for 1 minute before the video was fully uploaded. It seems that due to the heavy snow, the surrounding base stations have also been affected. However, as a world-renowned infrastructure maniac, Huaguo is at the top level in the world in terms of communication. Therefore, it has not reached the stage of being unable to communicate. It's just that long-distance communication may be subject to relatively large interference. The neighbors saw the video and clicked it curiously. When they saw Chen Zhengheo and others die so tragically, an unknown number of people laughed wildly, with tears in their laughter. Chen Zhengheo, this devil is finally dead. Ziocui, you can rest in peace. Finally, he is finally dead. We can go out. You damn thing. Good death. Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Woo woo woo. The neighbors hated Chen Zhengheo deeply. If Chen Zhengheo hadn't taken the lead in setting off a bloodbath, many people in this building would not have died at all. Their relatives, friends, and lovers were all brutally killed by Chen Zhengheo and even ate them. This kind of hatred cannot be expressed in words. Zhang Yi posted a message to the group. Chen Zhengheo is dead. I, Zhang Yi, did it. Zhao Ke next to him glanced at him with some resentment and said in his heart, didn't I do this? Zhang Yi continued, From now on, this building will be under my management. Only then did the neighbors realize that the video was posted by Zhang Yi, and there was Zalkena in the video. Zhang Yi, Chen Zhenghao was killed by you? You are amazing. Thank you for helping us get rid of a damn demon. Zhang Yi, do you have anything to eat? I'm starving to death. My son is dead, and my daughter is dead too. But I want to live. Zhang Yi, do you have something to eat at home? Give me some. I can do whatever you want. When the neighbors saw Zhang Yi appearing, they immediately begged. Zhang Yi, these two words are equivalent to a large amount of supplies in their eyes, and they are synonymous with food. Zhang Yi was a little speechless. Looking at them, it seemed that he didn't have much fear of him. He said to Zalkena next to him, I killed Chen Zhenghao, but why aren't they afraid of me? Zalkena said without hesitation, because compared to that lunatic Chen Zhenghao, you are a good person. Zhang Yi pointed at himself dumbfounded. I'm a good person? Don't put a high hat on me. But Zalkena said very seriously, in my opinion, you are a good person. Because you have never taken the initiative to kill anyone. As for Chen Zhenghao, he deserves to die. Zhang Yi smiled and said nothing. He doesn't think he is a good person, but at least he feels that he is not a bad person now. That's because he hasn't been driven to a desperate situation, so he can retain the basic moral bottom line of humanity. At this moment, someone made a voice. Zhang Yi, did Zalkena live in your house? Why do you only let Zalkena live in your house? And me? Why don't you let me in? She noticed the blind spot, that is, Zalkena in the video, was helping Zhang Yi. So, it is very likely that the two are together. Many people have red eyes. They dreamed of entering Zhang Yi's house. It is said that there is a fireplace inside, and it is a greenhouse at 4 degrees. The inside is comfortable and pleasant, and the supplies are piled up in the whole room, and you can't finish eating them in 10 years. They have tried storming in the past, but they have all failed in the end. But what happened to Zalkena gave them a glimmer of hope. Zhang Yi, I can do what Zalkena can do, and my skills are definitely better than hers. Let me in too. Zhang Yi, in fact, I never told you that I work part-time as a bartender. Don't you need a woman with superb skills? Zhang Yi, although I'm a man, but for you I can. Zhang Yi felt hot eyes when he saw it. Zalkena was also dumbfounded, and at the same time, felt a sense of crisis. In fact, whether as a doctor or a woman, she is not irreplaceable. At the very least, she is indeed not very skilled in that area. What if Zhang Yi meets someone better in the future and neglects her? Zalkena bit her lip, and secretly made up her mind that she must study this skill well in the future. The neighbors were envious and jealous of Zalkena, and asked Zhang Yi to take them to play. Especially Fang Yuqing. When she saw the news, she almost went crazy. Fang Yuqing, Zhang Yi, are you with Zalkena now? Zhang Yi was too lazy to talk to her. Fang Yuqing was in a hurry. At this time, she was nestled in a smelly room, with an unkempt face like a lunatic. Sun Zichao, Zhaopeng, and Zhe Jialiang have been dead for several days. They were deprived of food, and they were still alive, relying on the corpses of a few people. But Fang Yuqing still has brilliance and hope in her heart. She believed that one day she could go to Zhang Yi's house and enjoy that wonderful life. She typed with trembling hands, Brother Zhang Yi, since Chen Zhenghao is dead now, can Kinga go to your place? Didn't you say that you want to live a good life with Kinga? Don't you want Kinga to have enough food, clothing and warmth to live a happy life? You promised me, you must want me. You are not allowed to be with other women. You are mine, and everything about you belongs to me. Zhang Yi didn't expect that Fang Yuqing was still alive. He sneered and asked back, are you still alive? Fang Yuqing's eyes lit up. So Brother Zhang Yi thought I was dead, so he let that bitch Zalkena live in their house. Yes, it must be so. Now that he knows that I'm alive, he will definitely want me and not her. Her excited lips trembled, and she said to Zhang Yi, Brother Zhang Yi, Kinga is still fine. My body can also function normally now. Please enjoy Kinga to the fullest. Don't want that Zalkena, but me. I'm the one who loves you the most. Get her out of my house. At this moment, the disheveled Wang Minimum and Lin Caning discovered Fang Yuqing's abnormality. Seeing the light in Fang Yuqing's eyes, the two immediately understood that she was chatting with Zhang Yi. The two rushed over directly and said with a ferocious face, "Fang Yuking, don't even think about leaving us to live a good life by yourself." The three snatched a mobile phone and desperately sent messages to Zhang Yi. Lin Caning, "Zhang Yi, I'm no worse than Fang Yuking. I can do anything she can do. And I have a strong endurance. If she can't do tricks, I can do it, even if it is a BT. Wang minimum, Zhang Yi, Sister Wang is a bit older, but Sister Wang is very good at serving people. Young girls don't know what skills are at all. Give Sister Wang a chance." Zhang Yi thought he was watching a play, and he couldn't help laughing when he heard their scrambling to send messages and their voices full of quarrels. But Zhao Ke felt even more dangerous, hugging Zhang Yi's arm tightly, squeezing the 36D stalwart into various shapes on his arm. Chapter 71. She feels good. Zhao Ke's active approach made Zhang Yi's heart flutter for a while. Although he is not a man who is easily influenced by women, he is definitely a normal man. And a normal man would not be lecherous. Zhao Ke's good figure and beautiful face are very lethal to him. He also enjoyed her initiative in this process. Zhang Yi had a bad taste in his heart. Putting his hand on Zhao Ke's back, he skillfully opened the button. Tun Master Ziyang, who lost his restraint, jumped out immediately. Then he hugged her intimately and took a bloody photo with the front camera. After that, he sent the photo to Fang Yuking. "Kinga, you are a good person. But it's a pity that you came too late. I have met someone better now. You'll bless us, won't you?" Fang Yuking was still desperately fighting for the phone. Ding dong. When the three heard the news, they hurriedly looked over. Every piece of news from Zhang Yi is a hope for them to live. But in the end, they saw the topless Zhao Ke being held tightly in Zhang Yi's arms. Their snow white skin and plump figure made them feel ashamed. Fang Yuking only has a B, and she relies on several layers of breast pads to maintain her false prosperity when she goes out. Compared with Mr. Ziyang, a purely natural and pollution-free Mr. Ziyang like Zhao Ke, the intense jealousy is burning wildly. "Brother Zhang Yi, no. You can't treat me like this. Kinga loves you. Kinga loves you the most. She must be fake. That's a fake bear. Give me a chance. You try mine." Zhang Yi said, "Well, I tried it, and she feels very good. So let's stop contacting in the future. I'm afraid she will misunderstand." Zhang Yi knew that what he said would definitely drive Fang Yuking crazy, because he understands that he is Fang Yuking's last hope in the last days. How wonderful it is to annihilate all hope in one's own person, especially in this way. Fang Yuking always felt that she was a goddess who could only be licked by men. But today, she was deprived of her man by another woman. I think the point is that that woman is indeed better than her and more beautiful than her. This pain and despair is double. She regretted wanting to beat herself to death and asked herself why she was blind and didn't marry such a good man as Zhang Yi. Sure enough, as Zhang Yi expected, Fang Yuking almost went crazy and let out a hysterical cry from her throat. "I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Zhang Yi, you are my licking dog. You have been licking me for 2 years, but why don't you lick me now that I'm so proactive? That bitch, why are you robbing me? Damn you." Yes, Zhao Ke, it's all because of that bitch. When Lin Caning and Wang Minimum saw Zhang Yi's news, they pointed at Fang Yuking and laughed. "Ha ha ha, stinky bastard, you're just pretending to be sentimental. This is your retribution. Bah, you deserve it today." Lin Caning, her former best friend, gritted her teeth and cursed, eyes full of contempt. Fang Yuking's eyes were red, and when she wanted to send a message to Zhang Yi again, she found that she had been blocked by Zhang Yi. This also means that Zhang Yi doesn't want to pay attention to this woman at all. Soon after, she will die in this apocalypse, and Zhang Yi's torture and humiliation of her made him satisfied. Zhang Yi put down his phone with a happy smile on his face. The more miserable this bitch was, the happier he was. Zhao Ke leaned close to his body, looking up at him curiously. Zhang Yi turned his head, and the eyes of the two met each other. He suddenly frowned, and held her tightly. "Do you think I'm cruel?" Zhao Ke's breathing suddenly became rapid, and his face flushed. You must have your own reasons for doing this." Zhang Yi's eyes became deep. He thought about how he was treated by Fang Yuking in his last life. He gave everything for her, but in the end he was betrayed by her and tricked into opening the door of his room. causing him to be divided and eaten by his neighbors. The kind of unforgettable pain is unimaginable to human beings. After all, you have to watch them cut off your limbs with a knife that is not sharp. You just understand. Zhang Yi didn't want to explain too much, and he couldn't explain clearly. But between men and women, sometimes there is a better way to communicate than words. High-end humans often like to use primitive communication methods. After Zhang Yi and Zhao Kena killed Chen Zhenghao, their surroundings became much cleaner. At least there were no people beating the next door every day, or sending people over to monitor them. Chen Zhenghao himself didn't know that the reason why Zhang Yi killed him now was that he was too annoying. The atmosphere at 25 number is a little more relaxed, not as depressing as before. Zhang Yi knows that this is just an appearance, and the further the end of the world goes, the more distorted human nature will be. Even without Chen Zhenghao now, those who have already tasted the taste of meat may still kill people. But again, what does that have to do with him? This morning, after Zhang Yi got up, he came to Zhao Kena's door and helped her open the door. Zhao Kena blushed and went to the toilet, then came over to prepare breakfast for Zhang Yi. Her cooking skills are average, but at least better than Zhang Yi's. Occasionally, Zhang Yi would like to eat freshly made food, so he asked her to make some. Of course, before eating, Zhang Yi will let Zhao Kena taste it first, and then put down the chopsticks. When eating, Zhang Yi will check WeChat and some news that is still in operation. Nowadays, very few softwares that are still in operation are actually maintained by the government. Under the extremely cold temperature, most people cannot survive. However, high-level officials always have plans to deal with disasters, allowing some so-called important people to survive. Suddenly, he saw a familiar face in the etched group. That is Aunt Lin, who was crazy before. Aunt Lin, the snowstorm will be over soon. My brother is the governor of Jiangnan province, and he called me to tell me, you all have to listen to me now, or I will pull you all out and shoot you when the time comes. Did you hear what I said? Bring me food right now. But no one in the group paid any attention to her. She's crazy, but it's a miracle that she survived till now. I remember that Chen Zhenghao was the one who snatched her first. Zhang Yi said lightly. Zhao Kena, who was sitting opposite him, showed a sad expression in a subtle way when he heard the words. When I went to treat Lin Xiaohu at the doctor, I felt sorry for them, so I gave them something to eat. Chapter 72. Zhang Yi heard her and glanced at her. Zhao Kena was afraid that Zhang Yi would dislike her holy mother, so she hurriedly explained. At that time, the snowstorm had just started, and I thought it would be over soon. Zhang Yi smiled disapprovingly, put the phone on the table, and crossed his hands. That's not the problem. The supplies you gave should have been eaten long ago. How did she survive until now? Zhao Kena was still biting a piece of ribs, and when she heard Zhang Yi's words, she silently put the ribs into the bowl. Lin Xiaohu died almost 10 days ago because he didn't have any medicine. Zhang Yi nodded. It makes sense to say that. He suddenly laughed and said, in the past Lin Chengxia always said that Lin Xiaohu was her sweetheart, and she wanted to keep him in her mouth. She did what she said. Zhao Kena couldn't help covering her mouth and cast a reproachful glance at Zhang Yi. I'm eating. Ha ha ha. Seeing the success of the prank, Zhang Yi couldn't help laughing. He suddenly felt that living with a woman by his side was really more interesting. At least one person wouldn't be so boring talking. While he was talking, there was a sudden shout from outside. The two turned their heads and looked out the window. At 25 number, about 40 meters away from 18 number where they lived, a naked man was standing on the balcony, shouting into the wind with his arms raised high. Immediately, under the gaze of two people, he swooped down like a diver. Zhao Kena frowned slightly and couldn't help sighing. When did this snow disaster end? In the last days, there are not a few people who choose to commit suicide because they cannot see the hope of the future. Zhang Yi shook his head. Who knows? The changes in nature are beyond the grasp of human beings' current technological level. As long as we can live. While the two were talking, Zhang Yi's cell phone rang. He picked it up and looked at the name, and it turned out that it was Uncle Yu, the guard. Due to the experience of the previous life, there are only two people Zhang Yi is willing to trust in this life. One is Uncle Yu, and the other is Zhao Kena. They all sacrificed for others and obeyed the moral bottom line of human beings until their death. That's why he allowed Zhao to enter his home and become his servant. And Uncle Yu is second only to Zhang Yi in hoarding supplies in the whole building. Until now, the supplies in his home are still relatively sufficient. A single man in his 40s, with no children, works as a doorman. Such people, in order to save the cost of living, like to hoard cheap instant noodles and ham sausages at home. Zhang Yi picked up the phone and connected the call. Hello, Uncle Yu. Zhang Yi, are you okay now? Uncle Yu stuttered and smiled unnaturally. Zhang Yi has also known him for many years, and he knows that at times like this, it is usually an expression of embarrassment, that he wants something from others. Zhang Yi weighed it in his heart. If Uncle Yu borrowed supplies, you can give him some. After all, this security guard, who has been a soldier for 5 years, is very skilled. In the future, if something happens, you can pull him over to be a helper, block a gun or something. So Zhang Yi was happy to give him some small favors. Uncle Yu, I'm fine now. It's just that there are more people in the family, and the supplies are consumed a bit fast. He glanced at Zhao Ke. Zhao Ke's face was reddish, and he lowered his head and continued to pick the rice. Oh, that's indeed a problem. The more people in the family, the more food. That's right. Uncle Yu's tone gradually weakened, as if he was embarrassed to speak. But after hesitating for a while, he still said, Zhang Yi, I want to ask you something. Uncle Yu, why are you being polite to me? Just tell me. As long as I can help, I will try my best to help. Uncle Yu said embarrassedly. That's what happened. Zilimo's daughter Tang Bao has a fever, and I don't have any medicine at home. She's all red now, and her mother and I are dying of anxiety. Do you have any medicine? Speaking of the latter, Uncle Yu's tone was trembling, full of prayers. Zhang Yi's eyes were wide open, as if he had eaten a big melon. Good guy, I didn't expect Zilimo to find Uncle Yu as a taker. This woman's vision is really good. Among so many bachelors in this building, she can accurately pick the blue chip stocks that are second only to Zhang Yi. But thinking of Zilimo's situation in her previous life, Zhang Yi instantly felt relieved. She looked pitiful, but in the end she lived longer than Zhang Yi. Obviously she was not as innocent as she appeared on the surface. Zilimo is less than 30 years old this year, and her appearance is rated as 6 points, because she has a full body, after giving birth to a child. Uncle Yu has been a bachelor all his life, and he can't resist the temptation of such a mature woman. Zhang Yi does not intend to meddle in other people's private affairs. Zilimo was able to hook up with a big grudge. To raise a child for her, that was her ability. Zhang Yi said, so that's the case. Uncle Yu, congratulations. Uncle Yu was a little embarrassed. Congratulations, it's just living with a partner. You know my situation. If it weren't for the snowstorm now, I wouldn't be able to find a wife at all. Zhang Yi said, I still have a few boxes of medicine here. Come and get them later. Zhang Yi's tone was calm, but the keywords a few more boxes revealed a key message. That is, Zhang Yi actually didn't have much antipyretics in hand. But in the cold weather and lack of supplies, he decisively gave it to you, Uncle Yu. You taste carefully how righteous Zhang Yi is, and how good he is to you. Can you do it if you don't work hard for him in the future? Sure enough, Uncle Yu was too excited to speak for a long time. Zhang Yi, how can I thank you for this? You helped me a lot twice, and you Jigwang, let it go here. As long as you need me one day, if I say no, I won't be beaten by anyone. Uncle Yu swore excitedly. Zhang Yi said with a smile, Uncle Yu, what you said is justified. We have been old acquaintances for many years. In my eyes, you are the same as my uncle. Don't say polite words to me. Come and get the medicine quickly. Zhao Ke on the opposite side of the table muttered, looked at Zhang Yi mischievously, and even made a face at him. Only then did she discover that Zhang Yi had such a cunning side under his stern and cautious appearance. Zhang Yi took his feet out of the slippers, rubbed her long black silk legs from under the table, and gradually deepened them. Suddenly, her legs became weak, and she almost collapsed on the table. Just when she thought Zhang Yi was going to add another meal, Zhang Yi stood up calmly and left the table. Angrily, Zhao Ke patted the table. Arsonists. She cursed in a low voice. Her face was so red that she was about to bleed. Chapter 73 The Scheming Mother. After a while, Zhang Yi heard a knock on the door. Then came Uncle Yu's voice. Zhang Yi, I'm Yu Jigwen. Are you at home? He habitually glanced outside through the monitor. But soon Zhang Yi frowned. Because it was not only Uncle Yu standing at the door, but also a woman holding a child. Although she was wrapped in a thick down jacket, Zhang Yi knew that she must be the precious mother Zilimi. What is she doing here? Zhang Yi still has a good impression of Uncle Yu, but he has no friendship with Zilimi. And because of the experience and judgment of the previous life, he always felt that this woman was not simple. Zhang Yi stood up from the chair and walked to the door. Zhao Kenna just glanced at it, but did nothing. Zhang Yi is the master of this family. Zhang Yi came to the door, but did not open it. Is it Uncle Yu? He asked knowingly. Uncle Yu said, yes, it's me. At this time, Zilimi who was behind him said first, Zhang Yi, our Tangbeo has a high fever. Please help her. Her voice was crying. Zhang Yi took out a box of acetaminophen suspension drops and a box of small sunflower cold spirit that he had prepared a long time ago, and then threw them out through the shooting hole above. Then hurry up and give the medicine to the child. At this time, getting sick is not a trivial matter. Uncle Yu quickly picked up the medicine on the ground. His eyes were full of excitement. Zhang Yi, thank you so much. Zilimi took the medicine. Uncle Yu wanted to bring her along, but a strange light flashed in her eyes. She said, Zhang Yi, I beg you one thing. Can you let the baby stay at your house for a while? I know you have a stove in your house, which is warmer. But our house is cold. The baby is sick now, and I'm afraid she's freezing. Can you help us with this? Uncle Yu next to him froze for a moment. When she came, Zilimi didn't tell him about it. He was a little embarrassed in his heart. He had not communicated with Zhang Yi before he came. Now Zilimi suddenly proposed to let him be caught in the middle, which is very embarrassing. But seeing Zilimi's sad eyes, he didn't know what to say. In the room, when Zhang Yi heard Zilimi's words, the corners of Zhang Yi's mouth curled up slightly. An inch. Is it Sister Z? I'm so sorry, I can't let people in at such an extraordinary time. And the cold in our house is almost exhausted. To be honest, the temperature is not much stronger than outside. Zhang Yi will not be moved by her. Zilimi said it nicely, for the sake of the children. But neither he nor Zhao Keta had any experience in taking care of children. Even if he had, he wouldn't be bothered to do such crap. So once the child is let in, Zilimi can also use the name of taking care of the child to follow in. It's easy to ask gods to send gods away, but if she has any bad intentions, wouldn't Zhang Yi have to be on guard 24 hours a day? He doesn't bother. Hearing Zhang Yi's words, Uncle Yu also whispered to Zilimi, Zhang Yi is very kind to us, and even gave the child medicine. Let's go back and cover with more clothes, so we won't be cold. Zilimi wiped her tears and said in a whimpering voice, what do you know as a man? The baby is so small and very fragile. She said to Zhang Yi inside the door, Zhang Yi, I know this request is a little inappropriate, but I really have no choice. Eldest sister knows that you are kind-hearted, so she has the cheek to make this request. Please, for the sake of the baby, and for the sake of brother Yu, let the baby stay at your house for a while. After talking about this, Uncle Yu who was next to him was also involved. Generally speaking, people who are not particularly hard-hearted will let go. When you make a big request of someone, it's best to start with a small request. Then after the other party agrees to the small request, they are embarrassed not to agree to the later big request. It can be seen that this woman is not simple. Zilimi deliberately did not communicate with Uncle Yu in advance, but waited for Zhang Yi to finish delivering the medicine before proposing to let the baby live in Zhang Yi's home. But she underestimated how hard Zhang Yi's heart was. Zhang Yi stood by the door with arms folded. Sister Z, if this request comes before the end of the world, I will definitely agree. Now you also know, hey, everyone in this building wants to rob my house and want my life. I'm really scared. I dare not let strangers in. I believe you can understand me too, right? Uncle Yu, you should understand, right? Uncle Yu nodded repeatedly. At this time, he was very embarrassed to be caught in the middle, but facing Zhang Yi's gratitude in his heart, he didn't want to continue to trouble Zhang Yi. Yes, Zhang Yi is good enough for us. Otherwise, who would give us medicine? Do you know how difficult it is to get medicine now? Zelimoi bit her lip and didn't refute Uncle Yu, but her eyes were full of tears and she looked very pitiful. But, didn't he let Zhao Ke live in their house? Zhang Yi smiled contemptuously and said, Zhao Ke is my girlfriend. Is there any problem? When Zhao Ke heard this play, although she knew in her heart that Zhang Yi was just playing tricks on the other party, the corners of her mouth still curled up slightly. Compared with the truth, women care more about the sweet words of men. Even if she knew it was false, she would hypnotize herself, thinking it was true. Zelimoi frowned slightly, as if she was thinking about her words. But Uncle Yu is not as thick-skinned as her. Zhang Yi has helped him several times. He can't lose the face of the old men. So he pulled Zelimoi and said with a serious expression, let's go. Don't cause trouble for others. Zhang Yi is enough for us. Don't go too far. Seeing that Uncle Yu was really angry, Zelimoi immediately changed her aggrieved face. I know, I don't want to do that. It's all for the children. Uncle Yu said to the room, I'm sorry Zhang Yi. Don't care about her like her. Thank you for this matter. Zhang Yi also said, it's okay, everyone can understand this feeling. Let's support each other. Through surveillance, Zhang Yi saw Uncle Yu taking Zelimoi and the child downstairs. He returned to the dining table and said to Zhao Ke, this woman is in some trouble. Zhao Ke said disapprovingly, aren't there many such people? Zhang Yi shrugged, that's true, but I have a good relationship with Uncle Yu. I'm afraid she will interfere with our relationship in the future. Uncle Yu is Zhang Yi's ideal wage earner. Zhang Yi didn't want Uncle Yu to have a woman beside him, blowing some unhealthy wind in his ears. Zhang Yi was a little more wary of Zelimoi in his heart. At the very least, she coveted Zhang Yi's house and supplies in her heart. Chapter 74. Uncle Yu returned home with Zelimoi and the child. After closing the door, he said with an unhappy face, what did you just say? How can you ask someone to help you take care of the child? It's so chaotic outside now. No one knows whether others are human or ghosts. If he can give medicine to the child, it shows that he is a trustworthy and good person. How can you still push your feet? Zelimoi sat on the bed with the baby in her arms, and while feeding him the medicine, she unbuttoned the front of her clothes and used milk to smooth the medicine down for him. Instead of arguing with Uncle Yu, she said with a weak face, isn't it all for the child? You also know that the only motivation for me to live now is the baby. If something happens to her, then I will still be alive. What's the point? As he spoke, tears fell again. When Uncle Yu turned his head and saw her snow-white breasts, his heart softened and became tough at the same time. His tone slowed down. Hey, it's not that I don't understand what you mean. But as a human being, at least you have to know how to repay your kindness. Thinking of Zhang Yi helping him twice, Uncle Yu patted his thigh and said with emotion, if it wasn't for Zhang Yi, I would never have thought of hoarding supplies in advance, and I wouldn't be alive now. I, Yu Jigwen, must find a chance to repay this kindness. At this moment, Zelimo's faint voice came from his ear. Actually, I don't think you need to be so grateful to Zhang Yi. At least he is still guarding against you, right? Uncle Yu was stunned for a moment and said excitedly, what are you talking about? Zelimoi looked weak. Think about it, if he really trusts you, he should open the door when we pass by and let us go in and sit down. The medicine was thrown out of the window without even showing your face. Aren't you on guard? Uncle Yu was very upset. Don't talk nonsense. People have good intentions. What happened to your mouth? Zelimoi didn't rush and continued to whisper softly, I'm not talking nonsense. I think he helped you, but he didn't have much loss. Maybe he just gave you a little favor on purpose and hoped that you would be his thug one day in the future. If he is really a good person, he can use those vicious methods to kill dozens of neighbors. Unless he is willing to let us live in his house, I don't believe that he is really a good man. Besides, his house is also big and there are not many more three of us. What's wrong? Before Zelimoi could continue speaking, a loud shout rang in her ears. Enough. Uncle Yu blushed and looked at her angrily, which startled Zelimoi. The baby in her arms also burst into tears. Zelimoi hurriedly hugged the baby and said softly, I'm sorry, I was wrong. What I said just now was for your own good. At this time, it is always right for everyone to be more careful. Uncle Yu said coldly, don't say such things in the future. Yu Jigwang, can still tell the difference between good and bad. If I doubt my benefactor, am I still not a person? Uncle Yu is honest and straightforward, but straightforward and stupid are not the same concept. That's right, even if Zhang Yi helped him for a purpose, so what? In this world, there is no kindness without reason. He lived for more than 40 years, worked as a security guard for more than 10 years, and saw all the ways of the world. How can you not understand this truth? Zelimoi knew that Uncle Yu was angry, and knew that the heat could not be increased, so she obediently chose to shut up. However, this does not mean that she gave up encouraging Uncle Yu. The warm house of Zhang Yi's family is what she dreams of. Zelimoi looked down at the 8-month-old baby, and secretly made up her mind. Baby, I don't care, no matter how much we have to pay for our mothers to survive. That night, the white moonlight shines on the Silverland, bringing a trace of desolation and loneliness. The heavy snow has been falling for almost a month. Sometimes it is bigger, sometimes it is slightly smaller, but it does not stop for a day. The snow in Yulu community has piled up to the 4th floor, and the ground is white. Out of habit, most people still fall asleep at this time. The gate of the entrance to the 1st floor of 25 number was completely blocked by tens of thousands of tons of snow at this time, making it airtight. Suddenly, the snow layer at the entrance seemed to loosen, and a few pieces of ice fell to the ground. But soon, a large piece of ice and snow bulged out, and was pushed out with force. From the broken hole emerged a shovel. Immediately afterwards, the hole was dug bigger and bigger, and more than a dozen people wearing heavy clothes and holding shovels, steel bars, and axes came out of it. The leader was not tall, thin, and his cheeks were deeply sunken. However, he has a pair of sharp eyes that make people frightened. After entering the corridor, he lowered his voice and said, go up. A group of people carefully took the thing and climbed up the stairs. Their formation was very neat, and there were people in front of them holding planks and pans as shields. When they came to the 10th floor, they happened to meet a resident who secretly went down to fetch snow at night. Without saying a word, a strong man chopped his head with a shovel. Puff! Blood splashed all over the wall, and the man fell down before he even had time to scream. The big man looked at the corpse on the ground and said to the thin man in the lead, "Second uncle, what should we do?" Second uncle said, "Throw it here first, and then take it back after finishing the work." A group of people were obedient and continued to climb upstairs. Their target today is room 25 in building 2401 number. At this time, Zhang Yi was in a deep sleep, and Zhao Kenna was locked in the second bedroom next door by him. This group of outsiders arrived at the 24th floor silently. They were afraid of such heights all the way, but their physical strength did not seem to be exhausted. Obviously, they are not ordinary people. They must be special professions. A group of people rushed to the door of Zhang Yi's house, but no one rushed to knock on the door. The second uncle who took the lead stretched out his hand to signal everyone to stop and shouted to the back in a low voice, "Old donkey, come here." Behind the crowd, a middle-aged man wearing a grey wool cap came over. He also carried a grey backpack on his back. "Open the door." The second uncle pointed to the door of Zhang Yi's house and said. The old donkey nodded. "Look at me." He came to Zhang Yi's house, put down his backpack, and quickly took out various tools from it. The most obvious are the detonators, and several cuboids wrapped in yellow tape. After fiddling for a while, everyone quickly hid in the corridor. Boom. An earth-shattering sound spread throughout the entire unit building. Everyone was awakened from sleep. Zhang Yi is no exception. Since the explosion was right in front of his door, his ears were still buzzing at this time, and his eardrums hurt badly. Chapter 75 The Power of White Phosphorus. Zhang Yi's reaction was very quick. He climbed out of bed wearing only pajamas, immediately took out the pistol from the different space, opened the safety, and held it in his hand. He turned on his phone and checked the surveillance outside. The living room is safe and sound. In Zhao Kenna's room, she looked terrified at this moment, wrapped in a quilt nervously, and hid in the corner of the room with her head in her arms. There was nothing wrong in the house, and Zhang Yi breathed a sigh of relief. Then he looked outside through the monitor again. With this look, he spotted the dozen or so sneaky people. Most of the guys in their hands are shovels, as well as steel bars, clanks, and axes. It's just that the board Zhang Yi looked familiar to Zhang Yi. After a closer look, he found that it was a red 3-ply board commonly used on construction sites. Zhang Yi clearly remembered that there were no construction workers in their building. However, at 26 number next door, there is a group of workers working on the nearby construction site. There are about 20 people living in the house rented by their company. The smoke and dust dispersed, and those people hurried to the door to check whether the blasting was successful or not. With this appearance, they obviously came prepared, and their goal was very clear. They rushed directly to Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi's eyes are very cold. It seems that the fact that his family has enough supplies has already spread to the outside world. Outside the door, second uncle and the others were stunned when they saw the undamaged heavy metal door. "Old donkey, what are you doing? You can't even blow open a door with this crap." The worker next to him questioned the old donkey angrily. The old donkey didn't expect such a result. He said, "This is not right. The explosives I mixed are alright. Maybe it's damp." The old donkey is a good blaster in the engineering team, but he only uses local methods. So although the explosives are very loud, compared with the explosives prepared by professional blasters, the power gap is not small. Otherwise, even if the door of Zhang Yi's house cannot be blown up, the walls near Zhang Yi's house can be destroyed. To put it simply, it does not do much damage, and has a strong ability to scare people. Zhang Yi breathed a sigh of relief after confirming that his house was not damaged through the mobile app. But at the same time, the anger in his heart was also blazing. These people want to kill themselves. Then let them die first. A group of people outside the door are still complaining, and some people have already tried to smash the door with a shovel in their hands. They didn't notice a small window and the iron door above their heads. Zhang Yi lit the Molotov cocktail and threw it outside. The raging flames burned instantly. Zhang Yi still couldn't let go of his hatred and took out a few white vials from the space, which contained almost transparent white liquid. These are bottles of white phosphorus dissolved in sulfur dioxide, the simplest version of white phosphorus bombs. The white phosphorus bomb is called Hellfire. When the white phosphorus bomb burns, the temperature exceeds 1000 C, and it can destroy all living organisms within a certain range. The explosion of the white phosphorus bomb will produce strong light and splashing burning fragments. It is difficult to remove it in time when it touches the skin. Internationally, the use of white phosphorus bombs is banned. But Zhang Yi doesn't care about that. As long as he can effectively kill the enemy, he can use any means. The Molotov cocktail fell on the ground, and the fire was burning, but the lethality of this kind of thing is not too great. The people who came through the snow layer, and the clothes on their bodies were soaked, so it was not easy to ignite. However, the burning bottle forms a flame on the ground, which allows the sulfur dioxide to evaporate quickly, thus causing the white phosphorus dissolved in it to burn. In an instant, a high temperature of thousands of degrees was created in the air. The flames splashed on their clothes, and they couldn't be extinguished, no matter how hard they tried. In an instant, the corridor outside turned into a sea of flames. Zhang Yi's shot exceeded the expectations of this group of people, and they had no way to respond in just a dozen seconds. Many people were glued to the flames of white phosphorus. The down jackets and cotton jackets they wear are excellent burning materials. "What? Save me, save me." The shrill screams seemed to come from hell, and being burned to death could be said to be the most painful way to die for human beings. Ordinary people will feel pain, even if their fingers are burned by a match. Not to mention that every inch of skin in his body was engulfed by flames. Zhang Yi felt uneasy, so he took out his pistol and shot desperately outside. Bang, bang, bang. He didn't care about saving bullets anymore, and fired like setting off firecrackers. Soon one body after another fell down. Of the more than a dozen people who came to commit the crime, 8 corpses remained in the end, and only 5 or 6 escaped by chance. Zhang Yi didn't open the door to chase after him. It's still the principle of safety first. After confirming that those people were dead, he closed the firing holes, and then turned on the air filtration system to prevent smoke from entering the house. Zhang Yi glanced at the gun in his hand. All the bullets had been fired. He couldn't help shaking his head. This thing is really not durable. It's a good thing I didn't buy a machine gun, otherwise I would have used up hundreds of bullets in this shuttle. It seems that we still have to find a way to get some hot weapons in the future. Before that, his sense of crisis was not so high. But today, the workers on these nearby floors used explosives to wake him up. In the last days, it is not easy for those who can survive. The people he will face in the future are all ruthless characters. If one day, an engineer with a lot of explosives came, maybe he could blow up his building. Of course, this is just an exaggeration point after all. That kind of dose is too large, and it is not available to ordinary people. However, this also forced Zhang Yi to plan ahead. This group of dogs, I will definitely kill you all. Zhang Yi cursed viciously. He walked to Zhao Ke's room and opened the door. Zhao Ke curled up in the corner, tightly buried her head between her snow-white legs. Never mind, Zhang Yi said to her. When Zhao Ke heard Zhang Yi's voice, she suddenly felt very at ease in her heart. Although this man is overly cautious and always shows a look of indifference, but now, he is the greatest warmth in Zhao Ke's heart. She raised her head to look at Zhang Yi and quibbled. I'm not afraid. I just thought that there was an earthquake and it would be safer to hide in a corner. Zhang Yi laughed dumbfoundedly. The 24th floor. If there is an earthquake, you will be crushed wherever you hide. Zhao Ke stood up and asked, what happened just now? Zhang Yi sat on her bed. Before Zhao Ke moved in, the place was very monotonous, and the bed was not even covered with a quilt. But after she moved in, the room felt more warm. Pink velvet quilt, yellow sheets. On the windowsill hung her washed black lace underwear and black stockings. It can be seen that she is a delicate woman. Of course, not only her own house, but the whole house, including Zhang Yi's bedroom, was cleaned by her every day. Zhang Yi said in his heart, it's really good to have a sensible woman by my side. If it weren't for the end of the world, this kind of woman would not be able to marry without a gift of 1,888 million. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.